Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Welcome at the national conference, which is commemorating the 10th anniversary of the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center and is dedicated to the circular economy for green recovery of Ukraine. So this is within the EU4Environment, the EU-funded program implemented by UNIDO. And the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center in Ukraine is the national partner of UNIDO for the implementation of Component 2 of this program. A couple of words about the agenda. So today's national conference is to become a platform for continuing discussions of the challenges and opportunities for the green recovery of Ukraine that have already been presented at the conference Ukraine Green Recovery conference organized by the EU in Vilnius at the end of November this year. Within our today's agenda, we would like to have 3 panel discussions where we will consider the main factors promoting circular economy in Ukraine, which are political support, development of national knowledge and expertise, and practical experience of implementing circular economy in Ukraine. And also with the engagement of national and international partners, we will try to discuss and to determine how exactly circular economy and resource efficiency could be helpful for Ukrainian businesses in becoming a success and how they can contribute to the recovery of the Ukrainian economy. I'm Katerina Romanova. I'm the expert of the Resource Efficient and Clean Production Center in Ukraine. And in the online format, we also have Tatiana Chernevska, whom I would like to introduce. She is the EU4Environment Project Manager from the Circular Economy and Resource Efficiency Unit of the UN Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO. So let us, with Tatiana, be the co-hosts of today's event. We are welcoming the participants of the government, of international organizations, of businesses, of NGOs, business associations, and all those who are interested in dealing with the issues of green economy, environmental protection, circular economy, resource efficiency, and clean production, and of course, waste management. You have all probably paid attention to the fact that we have this place where we will have our online speakers, since this event is taking place in a hybrid format. The format has been selected for us to be able to engage a wider range of our participants from different parts of Ukraine and to also invite our international partners. So thanks a lot for all those who have joined us online. You can hear me and you can actually be watching everything that is happening in the room. And my special thanks go to the participants who have found some time to join us here offline. Let's hope that our numerous online audience is already in a safe space and nothing will prevent us from holding this event with the maximum efficiency possible. And as far as our participants here offline, so let me wish good luck to all of us in our today's event. Let me wish safety to all of us. And following the agenda, let us start the official part of our event with the welcoming remarks of our participants. So first, let me give the floor for the welcoming speech to Chloe Alio, Head of the Department of Economic Cooperation, Energy, Infrastructure and Environment of the EU delegation to Ukraine. Chloe, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to take part in this event today devoted to circular economy and resource efficiency. We know that their role in the modern world cannot be underestimated. And globally, there's really a clear role for circular economy in mitigating climate change. We know that since over half of the worldwide greenhouse gas emissions are associated with producing materials, moving to circular business models can really help reducing the gap compared to business as usual. At the heart of the circular economy, we have the idea of moving away from linear value chains towards a more regenerative approach. The idea is to allow to cycle products and materials many times and to make better use of existing assets. And these include recovery and reuse, lifetime extension, sharing, service model, circular design, and digital platform. On top of addressing the global worldwide climate and resource challenges, we also know that circular economy models have a special importance for Ukraine, given the need to recover from the ongoing damages by the Russian aggression. So it is very important for Ukraine to rebuild and to prepare the post-war recovery in a way that will ensure its prosperity for decades to come. And the EU is planning to play a very important role in Ukraine's green reconstruction, in particular given the strong linkages between reconstruction and the EU accession process. And we know that building back better will mean building back in line with EU standards and with EU values. So the EU stands ready to continue supporting the Ukrainian recovery to proceed in a sustainable manner. I mean, as sustainable as can be in these very difficult circumstances. And it's also very important to gain in resource autonomy, health, and quality of life for the Ukrainians. This is a direction that was taken by the Ukraine facility that was proposed by the Commission, and the idea is to pull together and to substantially increase the EU support. You know, and it was mentioned that last November, the European Commission hosted a conference in Vilnius during 4 days on the green recovery in Ukraine. And this conference took stock of the challenges ahead and discussed the strategies, the concrete solutions for the green recovery, in particular, innovative open data, debris recycling practices, and some examples of circularity. So we very much hope that these discussions will be continued today and that everything we're doing together will help to promote more ideas for Ukraine's recovery and green transition. Thank you very much.
Дякуємо вам, пані Хлоя.
Thank you, Chloe. And let me give the floor to Mr. Stefan Sikers, the Senior Coordinator for Ukraine from the UN International Industrial Development Organization. Stefan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, dear chairs, dear Chloe Alio, and already in advance, dear Nadia Bihun, dear participants, and I think I can really say this time, dear friends. Thank you for having me here, and welcome also from my side to the National Conference commemorating the 10th anniversary of the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center and the EU support for circular economy. Now, those of you who know me already know that prior to being the senior coordinator for Ukraine, I was taking almost exactly 10 years ago over from Heinz Leuenberger as a director of environment, the tasks to advance resource efficiency, among other places in Ukraine, while my predecessor, Heinz, went actually to play as a consultant for us in UNIDO, post-retirement, still a very dramatic and strong role in advancing the Cleaner Production Center. And we are very thankful for him, and I'm sure you are as well, for having helped so much to come up with so much support for a strong Cleaner Production Center in Ukraine. And of course, this is more needed now than ever, that Ukraine has in front of it this substantial task of building back better Ukraine. Chloe, you just mentioned already in your introductory remark the conference for the green recovery of Ukraine in Vilnius a few weeks ago, where it was said that reconstruction from the destruction caused by the Russian aggression cannot be limited to the restoration of what was destroyed. The reconstruction provides an opportunity to support Ukraine in its process of integration into the single market and in accelerating the sustainable green and digital transition by the EU policy. I would say this quote is a very important point. It is very unlikely, as we probably all agree, that the reconstruction will create something akin to a green version of the 2013 economy of Ukraine. too much has changed. Availabilities of material resources, of land, of water, of employees, of markets. From our perspective, it looks as if Ukraine will, to quite some degree, economically reinvent itself. The large area of Ukraine, the need for adherence to the EU acquis and the specific geostrategic situation of Ukraine will all heavily influence its economic recovery. How to have a resurgent economy which is at the same time green and thus compliant with the EU acquis? One thing, of course, is, and one should keep that in mind, if the economy wouldn't be compliant, it will not be resurgent so much, since it is actually the prospect of EU membership and the advantages of the EU market and participation in it, which is the most powerful agent for strong economic growth of Ukraine. The recovery simply has to be green in order to gain the momentum needed, which eventually brings Ukraine into the European Union. Another thing is that economy and environment are not at odds. The EU is working hard to create a level playing field for economies which are sustainable, environmentally sustainable. And these efforts pay back, and the efforts that Ukrainian companies, the Ukrainian government will put into greening the recovery will also pay back. In addition, circular economy as a way to facilitate resource efficiency creates economic profits and at the same time increases resilience. Now, how can that be achieved? I just want to pick out maybe 2 points. You know, circular economy is often associated with smaller areas, and you are probably aware of the eco-industrial park work that UNIDO is doing in Ukraine. And these parks, of course, represent a geographically small area where circular economy implementation is relatively simple and can reap substantial economic and environmental rewards. Another one is a region or a municipality, not only because municipalities are tasked with waste and are therefore a basis for recycling, but more because they are where the sharing economy takes place, where the extension of lifetime and repairs take place. UNIDO started an outreach program to all municipalities above 10,000 inhabitants in the 12 west-located oblasts in Ukraine, which is also intended to advance circular economy substantially within municipalities and between them. And coming back to the conference in Vilnius, exactly that link was strengthened and underlined a lot there through many discussions focused on municipalities and involving their mayors. So what are the best opportunities to really drive forward circular economy? Which options are interesting, relevant, implementable, and in particular, economically sustainable in the long run? Our foresight exercise looks at time horizons up to 15 years to help you identifying these opportunities. We at UNIDO are proud to support Ukraine in a recovery which is more than just a recovery, which is a turn towards a better future, a strong future, creating hope and opportunities for Ukraine's people and economy alike. This conference today is the first step, or one of the first steps towards such a recovery. And I hope that we all can join not only today's gathering, but in the next years to actually advance Ukraine forward on a green path towards EU membership. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Дякуємо вам, пане Штефане.
Thank you, Stefan. And let me tell it right away that Nadia is a little bit delayed, but she will join us the moment she comes to our audience, to our room. And thanks a lot for really very important words of support. And we are moving on to the green recovery of Ukraine together. And now let us go over to panel discussion number 1, which is policies and drivers for making Ukrainian economy circular. And within this panel, we will have the discussion that will shape our idea about the current status of circular economy policy in Ukraine, the drivers for transformation, the prospects for the implementation of circular economy, and supporting green recovery. And with this, let me give the floor to the moderator of this panel, director of the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center, Mr. Andrei Varfolomeev. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Katarina. So we will start with the policies because circular economy is really a very interesting thing. It's economically beneficial for all the players, but we need to understand that if there is no policy and no correct implementation of the policy, nothing will happen. Because if it were beneficial by itself, we would already be enjoying the results and not conducting this conference. But of importance is support in terms of the policy of circular economy, and that's what we're going to discuss today with our highly distinguished speakers. And I will ask Svetlana Barzina, president of the All Ukrainian NGO Living Planet, to join me here at the stage. I've seen her, so please, Svetlana, join me here. And I would also ask Mr. Andriy Hnap to join me here. He is the CEO of Waste Ukraine Analytics. Andriy, my special thanks go to you for coming to Kyiv from Khmelnytsky, because not even all the Kyiv speakers have joined us offline, but they are online with us. And it's also a very good tool that we have this hybrid format. So we have Daria Honcharenko, head of the High Value Added Markets Development Division from the Real Sector Development Department of the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine. We also have Milano Sibilade, Finance for Transition Coordinator, Stockholm Environment Institute, Tatiana Soloshenko, the National Consultant of UNIDO, Volodymyr Buzhan, Project Expert, Civita Ukraine, and Joe Ravitz, Co-Director of Center for Urban Resilience and Energy from Manchester University. And I think that we will start with trying to understand what circular economy and circular Ukraine actually stands for. What is our vision of our future? And here I would ask to address Joy Ravitz with a question. He's an experienced person working on the development of visions. So how do we start developing this vision of circular economy and circular Ukraine here? And how do we understand what our path to this future should be? Joy, over to you.
Thanks, Andrei. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Прекрасно.
So, first I will say I'm very happy to be working with Ukraine. I hope to visit in 1 month from now, and maybe I will see the place where my great-grandparents lived near Ternopil in the west. And for your question, the foresight process is especially needed where you have situations of great transformation. And we know from experience, a circular economy is a great idea. And there are wonderful examples all over the world and all around Europe. And Europe has a very big funding scheme to fund the circular economy development. But there are big problems, big gaps, big barriers. Industry, finance, supply chain management, the consumers, they have other things on their minds. And then, of course, Ukraine has this particular problem, which we know about. And this means that, yeah, transformation has to be more fast, more radical. And I'm really hoping that this foresight project can help Ukraine and Ukrainians to make that transformation faster rather than slower, and more green and more circular. So in a moment I can talk about some of the ways in which this can work. Do you want to see some slides now or later? Should I show some slides?
Джой, презентацію можна показати зараз, але...
Well, you can show your presentation now, but let me warn you that you have only 8 minutes, unfortunately, per speaker, so I will have to stop you
Yes.
if you don't keep to the time limit. So you can already start with slide number 3, I guess.
Okay, I'll jump in. So thank you for this opportunity. And here we go, very fast. Okay, so yeah, I'd like to say something about the circular society, the role of foresight, and what I call the collective circular intelligence. So there are 3 very fast parts to this. Exploratory foresight, the official UNIDO project, my own personal thinking and writing on the collective circular intelligence, and then finally a trend for a movie which is yet to be made, Circle Man. You will see this in a moment. And this is the previous version of circular economy, innovation in the Stone Age. It was not easy, I have to say. So very quickly, the exploratory foresight is in cartoon form in 4 stages. The first stage, we look at the system, the scope, what can we explore, what do we know so far. The next stage is about scenarios and looking into the future. In doing that, we use visual thinking where possible. We have specialist expertise where we can use it. And the third stage, which we are now working on at this minute, is the synergies and the visions, the creative thinking, new visions, new collaborations, new synergies, new ideas, and so on. The 4th stage, which is in the new year, will be strategies and pathways. What do we do? Who does it? When? And how? And what does it cost? So there is some very practical questions. The role of the foresight is then to look not only at the fixing of problems today and tomorrow, and not only for the strategic planning over 5 or 10 years, but beyond, to say, yeah, we want to help Ukraine transform its economy in a number of ways. The number 1 way being the circular way. To do that, we also have to talk with a wider community, not only the ministries and maybe the academics, but also the provider of public services, the communities, the citizens, the creative people, the private sector, clearly, and so on. And we look for ways in which those can connect, they can work together. And the same, we also look for deeper layers of understanding. This is not just about economics and technology, it is about the social, the cultural side, how society works, what people really want and think of for themselves and their families and their lives and so on. So we try to look again for the connections between these different areas. So how does this work? Well, here is a 1-minute version of a very big topic. We look at key product value chains, textiles, construction, transport, plastic, and so on. We look for the ways in which these can go in a circular way. I'm sure you will see other presentations on this topic. We also look for international trade and the meaning of that, imports and exports at every stage. And then we say, okay, what is the advice from the circular economy community? Well, we have to reduce and rethink and regenerate and narrow the flow and so on. Again, this will be covered by others today, I think. Then we say, oh, okay, let's look at how this works in practice, in a real situation. So we have technical systems, design, innovation, we have industrial systems, we have infrastructure. And then on the society side, we have the business model, the finance model, the governance, the social and cultural side. Each of these is a long story for each of the value chains, but we think we can start that conversation in a way which looks for the transformation, not only for change here or change there, fix this problem or that. So then we say, okay, what does this look like? What are the visions? Now, this is just the meeting only 10 days ago, so the report is still in writing, but the visions look more or less at the whole system of the whole economy, Ukraine Industry 5.0, or the creative catalyst for others to follow, and a resource hub with a lot of war damage and disused mining and processing. We also then look for the visions for the social systems, the business models, the policy integration, social and community enterprise. And we also look for the technical systems, design and innovation, which looks for the circular, not just for this firm or this product, this invention, but for the whole supply chain or supply and demand chain. So this is a familiar story so far. Then we have to say, okay, and now I'll come to my personal thinking very quickly. The collective circular intelligence, the key to transformation. And here we have, okay, cartoon version, and we have business, we have technology, we have eco-industrial, we have ecosystems, we have the social, cultural, urban infrastructure, and the governance and the policy. And you will see each of these things connect. And this is the cartoon version. You'll notice I use cartoons a lot. In my systems thinking, it's really important and useful to think in pictures, not only words. Because in pictures, you see the connections, and you also see other layers of the picture, not just the technical, but the personal. So we use pictures a lot. And this is one way, the cartoon version, to visualize a circular economy, which is also a circular society. And on that, then we say, okay, here again is a system map of our resource system. It's a linear thing. We bring in a lot of resources. We make money, we produce goods, and then we put out the waste and pollution. This then depends on an economic system, the business model, and that then depends on a financial system, the financial model. And what we see is, yes, money comes in, it puts the material through in order to make money. That's the main objective. Okay, but then the result is very destructive. We have a lot of waste, we have a lot of pollution. In many ways, in many countries, the economic system does not work well for everybody. It works for a few rich people. And so if we then say, what about a circular resource system where we bring in a diagram, then we say, okay, we have to rethink how the economic system works. We look for different types of value chains. We might even begin to think how the financial system works. Maybe we can replace global capital with regional and national sources of investment. We have to change, we have to begin to change the rules of that game. And we talk about social capital, ecological capital, recirculation of that money, and so on. And then the money can help the material to go around and achieve a circular economy. And our circular economy can then help the general economic development and prosperity of Ukraine. So then we say, okay, here is that diagram on the right. Here are the different value chains, so-called, and here are some of the gaps which we are trying to address. And here are some of the different types of value chain in a very general way, which we are trying to promote and get moving. So this is, again, this is my personal project, the Circular Economy Intelligence. We call it for short Circularnomics. It's a new word, and maybe it will become popular in the years to come. Okay, finally, the movie. Because why did we show a trailer for a movie? Well, because if we want the people...
Joy, 1 minute reminder, please.
1 minute, thank you.
Yes.
We say, okay, we need to make a blockbuster movie, one which will sell hundreds of millions. and millions of people will go to see this movie, Circle Man. This is fiction, okay? This is not a real project just yet, but maybe sometime soon. Because if we want Ukraine to be really circular, we have to make it something that can make people want to be circular in their homes, their workplaces, their infrastructure, and so on and so on. So we start to tell the story. This comes from a project from 18 years ago, when I first started working on this from the UK. And so I'm not spending much time on the details, but you can see the value chain is working here, but it's a linear chain. The waste, the materials come in, they go through, the waste comes out. And every part of the chain is controlled by a corporate firm. And the result is then on the right side. We see a big wave representing climate change about to destroy our city by the sea. Then we see, oh, maybe there is a different way. This is how to do it. Everything moves in circles, but not one circle, many, many different types of circles. And then we can start to see the factory floor, and there is re-engineering, there is redistribution, there is reuse, recycling, etc., etc. And then finally, we can say, yeah, this is not only production, it is about consumption. Here you see a school or a library and a shopping centre. There's a high level of education. And then finally, we see where this is going. This is the factor 4 model, which is about factor 4 double wealth, half resource use. We change the economy by a factor 4. So that's all I need to say. If anyone wants more detail, the book on the right is the source for my thinking and the movie. So thank you so much, and I hope to spend the rest of the day learning and listening. Thank you.
Дякую, Джою.
Thank you, Joe. A very interesting approach and a very interesting bridge, but only within EU4Environment, Joy and his team are holding 4 sites on the circular economy of Ukraine, and there will be an expert survey and the whole panel discussion. So those who are willing to join in this process of drawing pictures to make them more senseful, meaningful for the country, please follow the updates. But at the same time, we should also have the more down-to-earth economy, because circular economy and circular society is a very complex structure, and we need to understand what to start with, what we need to do at the political level, how we need to select the fields, the domains where we start. And here I would like to invite Volodymyr Bozhan, and I would like to ask him, how do we build our political work on the implementation of circular economy in Ukraine? Volodymyr, you're welcome. Yes. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you, Andrei, for giving the floor to me and generally for holding this event. Let me briefly tell about the circular economy project we are now working on, and I would also like to tell about the fundamental things related to Ukrainian reality. Let me share the screen. This is the circular economy project focused on the development of the circular economy strategy, and it's called Promotion of Sustainable Production and Consumption in Ukraine. It is supported by the EU, and it deals more with the development of strategic documents and economic modeling, and it complements the EU4Environment project, which also aims to promote circular economy in Ukraine. In fact, as for now, Ukraine is facing a number of challenges that, on the one hand, can be limitations for green transition and the circular economy implementation process, but at the same time, it includes the elements that accelerate this process, which are, first of all, the international context and the national commitments that we've undertaken, which is quick integration of Ukraine to the EU. And we saw that this is gaining momentum, and the implementation of legislation of the EU is rather high in terms of its space. And the other thing is about the enforcement of those directives. And also at the national level, we have developed and adopted the National Waste Management Strategy until 2030, which doesn't cover all the elements of the circular economy, but at least solves the problem of waste management. And also we've got a general trend, which is joining the European Green Deal and Green Recovery, which presupposes that we are trying to use the best available technologies that help us have a resource efficient consumption and transition to new types of fuels and rejection of fossil fuels. If we speak about the war, of course, well, you know that the infrastructure, particularly in the east and in the south, has been largely destroyed and damaged, which gives opportunities for recovery. And we also need to have some accounting of the tools that we need to engage for the recovery projects. And it's a challenge that we didn't have the effective tools for stimulating our people to treat waste. The EU was one step ahead. And before solving the problem of climate change, they started solving the problem of waste management, and then they moved over to the climate policy and minimizing or mitigation of the negative impact on climate. While we have to be solving both of those issues at the same time, but modern advanced technologies really enable us to do this. If we speak about the architecture where we are now, because the legislative framework, it does not actually cover the whole chain of the circular economy, and the things that are going to be introduced soon are directives related to such waste as batteries, packages, electric domestic appliances waste. And those directives will change the rules of the games in the market and will develop new economic incentives for more rational use of waste and implementation of the circular economy principles. And our project focuses on the first stage and the assessment of the current status of circular economy, how developed it is, how far the regulatory framework that will soon be adopted will be effective for the economy. Will this impact be positive or negative? And after that, at the next stage, we will start shaping up our strategy, and we will start establishing working groups. That will come next year. In fact, when we started approaching this shell, so to say, we tried to have a look at what sectors produce the most waste and the most emission, and which sectors have the greatest potential. So if we take this set of factors, this is energy, agriculture, mining, metallurgy, and from the point of view of consumption, we have a lot of waste that could be repeatedly used, batteries, textiles, plastic, electronic devices. So all those types of waste that are covered by the directives that are going to be adopted soon in Ukraine. And we can see that the economic capacity of those sectors is also the highest. This is metallurgy and agriculture, which are the economy shaping sectors in Ukraine. And it's true that our estimations show that the very process, in spite of the fact that those directives will be introduced rather soon, within the next 1 year or 1 year and a half, but the very process of implementation will anyway be rather long, because the producers need to get ready, the consumers need to get ready, and the market needs to be well developed. So there should be a smooth transition to market conditions and to the introduction of the incentives that will encourage people and businesses to manage the waste and to have repeated use, recycling of waste. Now we can see that waste management is one, and waste processing, processing of the waste included to consumer waste, is the largest domain with the highest potential, and the other one is energy and heat generation waste management, like in coal mines, and which can be, this waste could be used in construction, and then construction recovery, processing of the destruction that we've got. They will also have rather high effect on the economy, and we think that this will be a time prolonged effect, because the market will start shaping up only after 2025, 2026. But it's important also to mention that here we have not taken into account the production facilities that have started developing, like waste to energy initiative, like biogas plants. And we can see that the very context of the issue of energy independence at the level of companies and municipalities, and the context of growing prices and volatility of prices in the global energy markets is urging a lot of producers, primarily in the field of agriculture, to start implementing these projects already now. And we can also see quite a high capacity in this from the waste sector point of view, but this is a sensitive issue since it's about developing the market of sorting and processing of waste. It is still in the making, this market. And one of the core reasons is the insufficient economic component of the tariff for transportation and processing of waste. And we don't have the sufficient liability, though you know that we will have extended liability of the producers for handling waste, in particular packaging waste. And introduction of such mechanisms as extended producer liability and economically expedient tariffs for withdrawal, sorting, and disposal of waste will contribute to the shaping up of this market and will help improve the quality of life. Thank you. Thank you, Volodymyr. Thanks a lot. Well, we have a good occasion to stop our panel because we have got a highly distinguished speaker, Miss Nadia Bihun. Let me welcome you and over to you. Good afternoon, colleagues. I'm happy to welcome you. I'm happy to see our partners with whom we are already cooperating. And by the way, it's interesting that it appears that any initiatives, leading or progressive initiative, unites a lot of initiative people. So you can see so many familiar faces in the room, which fact I'm so happy about. So first of all, let me express my gratitude to the hosts, to the organizers, and to cite that the fact that UNIDO is entering Ukraine and the fact that other projects aim to promote circular economy and industrial development. They start entering Ukraine and implementing their projects here. This is a very good piece of news for us. This is a very important signal for us. Why? Because, in fact, the active part of the society, in particular NGOs, have been working with those issues for quite a long period of time, but somehow this direction has not got many real cases showing how such projects could be implemented in practice. I mean, projects related to circular economy. As you know, the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine starts moving actively in this direction. We've got a project with the EU. They funded a team for us, a team of experts that is helping us to now analyze the legislative framework and to suggest changes, amendments to the legislation for creating incentives for circular economy. And I think that in about mid next year, they will have a report delivered on their findings, and then we will move on. I think that in the room, if there is somebody willing to join this work and to have a look at those initiatives together with this team and together with the EU project, develop some realistic proposals for the amendments to our current legislation, you're very much welcome. Just address me because I will be building up this platform. On the other hand, we understand that now it's really important while responding to the challenges that we have in the economy, which is the issue of pollution with construction waste due to great destructions and damages. And this is also the issue, well, probably not that directly related to war, but one that really has an impact from the point of view of the war challenges. I mean, logistic restrictions, logistic limitations, then the issue of our direction of working with the raw materials, mainly being a raw material country. Also the challenges related to access to external markets, you know, our problems on the border. Unfortunately, both export and import are affected by those challenges, and we understand that these are the challenges that we will have to live with. And that will be a home assignment, an exercise that we will unfortunately have to do quite often, So this incentivizes us to have a deeper look at the domestic market and have a look at where we have capacity for growth, what new clusters we can be building. And I can see some colleagues with whom we had a discussion of this matter yesterday. We have a significant agrarian agricultural capacity, which can be used to create new products that will be interesting enough for the construction market. And also we could go deeper into processing, recycling, reuse what we already have. And I see the mission of the Ministry of Economy in that we should be working with our international donors, the ones who are interested in working in this direction to launch pilot projects. I understand that we, as the Ministry of Economy, would primarily be responsible for developing policies and changing the political landscape. And that is really what our mission is. But we also want to see specific deliverables within a specific timeline. That's why we have determined for ourselves that we will create the office Made in Ukraine, as we call it. And this Made in Ukraine office will promote Ukrainian production. It will deal with three directions: construction materials, agricultural processing, and engineering. So we are, the office is in the making, but we already now understand that most probably we will have to follow the approach of having a comprehensive project starting with agricultural materials and up to construction materials. So we will take the initiative of working with our donors in the implementation of projects, pilot projects. I understand that here we have the active part of our society present and the people who are really very much willing to use and introduce circular economy principles. And we would be very grateful to you if you could really join us in those projects. These could be pilot projects together with international donors, and then these projects would be replicated. So I'm urging you to establish the dialogue for having the opportunity to implement such projects. And to conclude, I would like to say that there has been a lot of talking about the Ukraine plan recently, and you probably know that the EU has initiated large-scale funding within 15 billion euros for 4 years for three main directions, which is the reforms, which is the microfinancial assistance, 32 billion, but in exchange of reforms. So money comes in exchange for reforms. The other direction would be private sector funding, which is 8 billion for stimulating IFIs to finance private sector. And there has been a lot of talking on that point because they asked us what would be the directions we would like this funding to be allocated to. But on the other hand, there is the EU agenda on the green transition and on what needs to be funded. I mean, projects related to this green transition. And definitely circular economy projects will also be in the focus of attention. So there will be also funding for such projects from Ukraine Facility Plan. And the third direction here is construction of or development of the institutional capacity primarily in the regions, since we realize that we need to enhance decentralization and regional capacity to implement projects. That's why we hope very much that already in January, this Ukraine facility plan will be approved by the EU, and that would mean that next year IFIs like the EBRD, the World Bank, the EIB will start looking for the projects that they could possibly allocate funding for. Most probably, this is not going to be grant funding. This will be the funding when they give long, cheap money on preferential terms for a long period of time for priority projects the state needs the most. And we understand that cooperation with such institutions normally requires very good preparation, because to present this project and to get the funding, you really need to be bankable from the point of view of IFIs, which means that we need to start preparing those projects already now. And then it will be easier for us to be candidates for such funding. So I think that's all from me, but suppose colleagues in the room have some questions, I would be happy to take them. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you for being the representative of Ministry of Economy here. I don't think that we have questions, because our questions will be online and in the chat, and we will definitely further the questions to you, if any. Thanks a lot for joining us. And we are getting back to the agenda of our first panel. So we finished off talking about the preparation of the strategy for the implementation of circular economy in Ukraine. And the next question is whether we are ready for that, because we work with UNIDO, so we focus on the industry. So is our industry ready for circular economy? Which of the sectors need to, first of all, be engaged in that process, and what are the barriers? And let me address this question to Tatiana Soloshenko, national consultant of UNIDO. Tatiana, you're welcome. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm happy to welcome all the participants of the conference, and let me share my screen. Thanks a lot to the organizers of the conference for allowing me to present the first developments of UNIDO under the project of developing industrial capacity, consultations and diagnostics for green recovery of Ukraine. This is the project launched in July 2023, and so far the diagnostics and consultations stages are over. And just in brief, let me present the findings and the developments of this project over this period. So I will speak on the priorities of industrial development of Ukraine for the recovery of the green and circular economy of Ukraine. First of all, when we are talking about the green and circular economy development in Ukraine, we should go to the results of achieving environmental sustainable development goals by Ukraine. If we have a look at the ranking of Ukraine following the index of sustainable development goals, we can see that it ranks 38 among 166 countries, though it goes behind all EU countries, but for Bulgaria and Malta. The mandate of UNIDO is related to goal number 9, which is industry, innovations and infrastructure, though green and circular economy are connected to goals 6, 7 and 12, as well as 13, climatic actions, 14, 15, which is preservation of land ecosystems and marine resources. And almost by all of these objectives, Ukraine needs significant changes in development. But for objective 13, where the UN has said that Ukraine has made considerable achievements, but still requires some changes. But if we look inside those indicators, we can see very negative phenomena following local indicators. Quite often, the share of the waste discharge waters is too large. And there are also other indicators like CO2 emission as the result of fossil fuels use and production of cement, the high share of produced fish that is just thrown away, and there are a number of other indicators which are too high or too low, which means that we can see some significant achievements, but quite often some other changes are still needed. In particular, the nitrogen emissions is also one of the factors we should pay attention to. So all this shows that Ukraine is not paying sufficient attention to the development of circular economy. At the macro level, UNIDO has already made analysis of the environmental indicators of the industry of Ukraine among comparator countries, and it has been acknowledged that Ukraine has very low indicators in some areas, like the intensity of raw materials consumption. Our level for $1 of added value exceeds the indicator 5 or 6 times. The use of industrial water resources, here the indicator is 3 times higher than in Romania, in Poland, and 51 times higher than in Turkey. Also, our intensity of energy use per one unit of added value in industry is higher several times, 6 or 7 times than in the comparator countries. And our intensity of CO2 emissions is several times higher than in developed countries. And the global practice shows that the countries that achieve lower resource intensity have higher added value in the processing industry, and vice versa. The countries with higher added value in industrial processing show the highest environmental efficiency. This is another argument pointing to the need for developing circular economy in Ukraine. UNIDO has had consultations and diagnostics, and within this state we had a survey. We included 24 companies, just to determine the incentives for the development of circular economy, and it appeared that the largest construction sites, or rather the most attractive direction in the post-war period in terms of circular economy, was reduced resources consumption. In the second place was repairs and restoration. Also, 18% paid attention to recycling, waste recycling. And in the last place was remanufacture, reconstruction. We can also see that companies are being encouraged to develop the principles of circular economy, since they have also showed that they're willing to do this in the post-war period. And what about the development of circular economy according to UNIDO? It is based on the creation of a full-fledged added value chains. Natural resources are to be processed, and we end up in repeat use of those resources. Development of circular economy and green economy of Ukraine is to be taking place in the priority sectors, and that will enable us to get as high an economic effect in the internal domestic market and in the global market as possible. We assess competitive ability of our industries, industrial sectors, and we identify the sectors of the industry that have those competitive edges both in the domestic and in the global markets. This is the food industry and production of beverages, this is the wood processing industry, and this is metallurgy. And also we identified the sectors which are developing and which start getting their competitive edges. This is the cellulose paper industry, electric machines and equipment, and other non-metal mineral products. And also we identified those industrial sectors which have hidden competitive edges, where we are still not competitive in the global and in the regional markets, but these are the sectors that are developing at a very high pace and can actually accelerate and boost the development of green circular economy. This is textile industry, production of leather and shoes, and production of ready-made metal constructions. These are the sectors of the economy that could provide the highest effect and the quickest effect for Ukraine to become competitive and it may also give a very good effect if the principles of circular economy are introduced there. Besides that, UNIDO has its own methodology for assessing the national impact of circular economy, um, and we applied this model in order to assess the environmental and social and economic consequences of the war. We built several scenarios which took into account such assumptions as the termination of employment related to migration, then reconversion of our economy towards the military industry and occupation of regions. And you can see that those effects were assessed in terms of the change in the employment, and you can see minus 32% in the chain of added value in the industry, minus 22%, and also it resulted in the reduction of the CO2 emission by 22%. Just, Tatiana, please try to finish. And we also had another scenario of higher production and the scenario for environmental impact. So we had two scenarios. If we have it by half as compared to the EU, and by half as compared with the neighboring countries like Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Lithuania, and Latvia. So to do this with the EU, we need to increase our production by 171% and added value by 185%. And if we increase economic efficiency, the CO2 emission will increase only by 60%, while achievement of the level of the regional neighbors, neighboring countries will, to achieve their level, we just need to increase our production by 67%. We need to have added value increased by 74%, and the CO2 emission will increase only by 51%. So what I would like to conclude with, in the short-term run, if we focus on the development of green and circular economy in those priority sectors, that will enable us, well, not to mitigate all the consequences of the war, but in the long term, this will yield a positive effect. And development of those priority sectors of the economy will also have an indirect effect for other sectors of the economy. Definitely, industrial development will contribute to CO2 emission, but that's why we need to introduce green and circular economy. And increased added value in the economy will require higher speed of increase of growing employment in our industry. Thank you for attention. Thank you, Tatiana. It's really true that you have mentioned very many interesting figures, so I think that these figures are going to be further discussed. We can compare it with the other project introduced today by Volodymyr. And well, today we are at the event where we have 5 different circular economy projects presented, and that's a very good opportunity just to check who is working on what and what data each of you has got. And let me also stress that the questions are in the chat because we don't have time. The answers will also go in chat. And you know, circular economy is not so much new for Ukraine because within EU4Environment and one of the previous programs, we already started introducing some components. And let me ask Svetlana Berzina about the political tools. We already have got some political tools that have been tried out, right? Thank you, Andriy. Well, I'll probably stand here. So thank you for the invitation. Please share the screen with my presentation for us not to lose time. But while the presentation is being shared, let me say the following. On analyzing the presentations made by the previous speakers, I would like to say that our common problem now is with the data. The data that we need to make proper analysis and to really make some foresight and to develop further steps for the implementation of the circular economy model in the context of the European Green Deal, because the European Green Deal already has some clearly set indicators we should have in place, but we could not have them in due scope because we don't have the data that should be collected by the statistical services. This is the statistical data, the data from the systemic researchers, and the data of the monitoring that is also related to the effect on the status of the environment. We are not analyzing any policies if we don't understand where to move, if we don't have the data. So concerning the things that we have already got behind us, it's really true that before EU4Environment we had the Upgreen program, and together with the Resource Efficient Center, we were dealing with this important thing and developing those very tools for the implementation of the state environmental policy and the strategy of development of Ukraine in general, with the elements of circular economy. We still don't have any political document which would mention green or circular economy as such. I mean, we have related documents which determine the national policy in certain fields, like the environmental policy, which has, by the way, adopted by the law. And let me remind you that this is the unified and the only policy that has been adopted by the country. So, what have we currently got? I will be talking about the EU4Environment project from 2019 to 2023. Besides the political things, because, well, we had some updates in the national policy. We have those components. I will not be enumerating them because we should have a separate workshop dedicated to that. But anyway, we have some political vectors which are scattered, which is not generalized in one common document. And well, that probably that is something that in fact should not be done, but this would somehow facilitate our work for us to be able to make this general analysis. But the project presented by Vladimir Bizhan actually deals with that. They are trying to see what sectors have those elements of circular economy in order to understand what needs to be done. Concerning EU4Environment and the work of our organization, we worked on public procurement as the tool. And by the way, the greening and the circularity of the economy are well prescribed there. And this is a very good tool that enables us to influence the market. Well, now the state has the share of about 20% of GDP in the period of the war, and what the market provides depends on what the customer buys, procures. And if in those processes we kind of build in the process of circularity, so the market will be redeveloping following those trends and those criteria. We had a very ambitious thing to focus on services like food services and food products that have some additional environmental impact and the capacity for improving circularity and repair and construction of roads. We also developed a new environmental labeling tool. By the way, I'm not reading out from the presentation, so you're welcome to at the same time listen to me and to look on the slides. It's important that the criteria of the ProZorro system and the environmental labeling standard with clearly set criteria that determine whether the product is environmentally green or friendly or not. So all this enables to identify a product as a certain circular or sustainable product, and then the customer, relying on those standards, referring to them in the tendering documents, could actually order such products and stimulate the market. Well, besides that, we have a lot of things related to the training and awareness raising events. And that's what we're doing today. But let me straight away tell about the practical weaknesses of the project activity within this program. And this is important. I'm doing this not to criticize, but because we need to take this into account in the future. So I'm talking here about the obligatory registration of the project in Ukraine, according to legislation. If there is no registration, if there is no steering committee, there is no proper communication, there is no proper implementation, etc. Another weakness is lack of coordination. It's a large program with many components, and they lack coordinators. A lot of things are duplicated because you can see 5 those logos down there. So these are 5 international implementing partners. And unfortunately, coordination was really weak, was really poor in terms of what they did within that component. There was overlapping, there was duplication, and the same can be told by the national level. And communication is another weakness. It's really important to have those communication campaigns and materials that focus on the Ukrainian market only. We cannot have communication campaigns on the basis of the materials that were developed by a French company with no agreement with the national partner. It doesn't work. And this is a real problem because all the new things are very difficult to be implemented. Just one more minute and I will finish. So as far as the completion of this project is concerned, this is the project which is about to finish this year, if I'm not mistaken, or will EU4Environment still last? It seems to me till March next year, 24, March 24, yes. So just several months left. But as for now, well, we still have some time, about 3 months, but we still don't have any recommendations. For example, our component was completed in March this year, but UNIDO has not provided the recommendations concerning what we could be doing further on. And after EU4Environment, there will be some other similar program that will support green economy, circular economy. Maybe it will be related to the green transformation, which is also recovery for Ukraine. But anyway, that must be about coordination of our effort, the effort of all those who were dealing with this project, and we need to have a good roadmap developed. And I'm about to finish. I'm just showing all my slides to the participants that I have a longer presentation on those tools, and I've just shortened it. And you will be able to get acquainted with this presentation when it is sent out to you by the hosts. Because 8 minutes, it's a very short period of time to speak on something in detail. Yes, thank you, Svetlana. And well, that is a good approach. I've already seen this question in the chat. Of course, all the presentations will be shared with you. So the things which were not told, which will be further shared with you. And also, please, I would ask the speakers to join the chat and to give answers to the questions because we are about to finish our panel and we still have 3 very important reporters. So let us get back to circular economy. And Svetlana has told us about circular procurement, about some pilot projects in this respect. And at the same time, she has spoken on the data for measuring the progress. And we have 5 different projects together in this event, and they are already communicating and coordinating it all with each other. But at the same time, it should be done at the state level. We need to understand how we are moving towards circular economy, whether there is any progress, and how we measure this progress. And this is the question I would ask Andriy to answer. And here is the clicker. Colleagues, please share my presentation. Andriy, you have 7 minutes. Well, I think I will manage to present my key messages. Just please share the presentation. So, in fact, I start each presentation of mine with the American economist phrase. He was responsible for the reconstruction recovery of Japan after World War II, William Deming. He said that without data, you're just another person with an opinion, which is true for Ukraine now. And this is the phrase we are guided by in our work. Well, other colleagues are analyzing processes from the point of view of technologies and energy efficiencies, and we look on the circular economy as on the information flow. So the project I'm going to tell you about today focuses on the information available at every single stage. Actually, starting with February this year and up till October, we worked with the East Europe Fund, the Ministry of Digital Transformations. We had a research that you can see, the research on open data information technologies and on how they could accelerate transition to a circular and low carbon economy. And this research included development of 16 data sets for reporting, and we were guided by Eurostat here. And also we analyzed a lot of EU documents and Ukrainian documents, 24 Ukrainian documents, 24 EU documents, including the Green Deal and the Climate Act. And also we analyzed IT systems that could be used under ISO to use all those systems together. We've focused on Eurostat, and here you can see the European Union's data sets, but we identified that there are some drawbacks concerning generalization of data, and we could do it better in Ukraine. We can get more information, which is contextual information, but almost all the sets that you can see in this slide, which is, by the way, not the exhaustive list, these are just 16 first phase data sets, and here you could add the data on the priority sectors like textile or other things. So we just tried to focus on the data from Ukraine and followed the EU standards in collecting this data. Here is something that was done in relation to the digital passports of products, which is a thing which is important in the EU for many things like electric waste and textile packing. So this is something that can be implemented, and it's particularly important that it can be used for buildings, which means that buildings as a material bank. This is one of the approaches already implemented in the Netherlands, and this was what we were told about at the Vilnius conference mentioned today many times. This is a real case of how it could work. So the digital technologies in relation to products have to be used. Another important element is why we are gathering all this data. Most of the statistical data is in retrospect. It shows what we managed to achieve in the past using those policies. And the approach we are promoting together with all of our colleagues is a more proactive approach, which means that on the basis of the data that we get, we could make the forecasts and the foresights that could allow us to be more progressive, more successful. And in that way, we could achieve also circular economy indicators. And here is just a slide showing that we need data to communicate with each other, not to be like this hippopotamus, the most important person with the highest salary or some top official. We could tell him that here is statistics, here are the scenarios, the foresights. We are shown the approach and we should be guided by this approach. So we collect data for this purpose. And I also have to confirm, as colleagues mentioned, that circular economy is a comprehensive thing. I like some complex things, complicated things, where we have something easy is something complicated, but circular economy is a complex one where we have to coordinate all our policies at different levels. And anyway, we're going to have 4 dimensions, which means that we will work on the institutions, on finance, on incentives, and on information flows, like we are working on them. And we will have to unite all these 4 components at different levels with the circular business models from the point of view of census with the users for them to vote with their hryvnias in the companies that are implementing this approach. Well, have I managed to be within the time? Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot. I did my best. Yes, we will have coffee break after the second panel, so we cannot stay too long here before the coffee break. But this information is really interesting, and we have discussed with you the challenges, the input data, where we are now, what components of circular economy have already been introduced and implemented, how we can measure progress. But the most issue is where do we take the resources from to implement circular economy? I'm not an expert in calculations, but I think that the resources are immense. So here is my question concerning the resources that my country needs, and how do we assess and measure those resources? Where do we look for those resources? And let me address Milano Serviladze, Finance for Transition Coordinator from Stockholm Environment Institute. Milano, over to you.
Thank you very much, Andrei. I hope you can all hear me. So thanks for having me, and thanks for the quite interesting, insightful presentations. So my name is Milano Sirbiladze. I represent Stockholm Environmental Institute. We are a research-based organization headquartered in Stockholm, and at this moment we implement a project in Ukraine, which is called the Green Agenda for Ukraine. And within the project today, I would take a bit of different stance and talk less about circular economy, which is quite big component of our project, but talk more about the finances, how to enable finances when it comes to the transitioning to net zero and achieving climate neutrality goals. What are the potential gaps, issues, and opportunities that could be stemmed from both private and public finances to ensure that there is enough finances and the Ukraine can achieve climate neutrality by 2050 according to its key goals. So let me briefly share the presentation and I will talk about what is our approach and how we embedded this component within our project. If you just give me 1 second. I hope you can all see my presentation. So this is a green, yeah, good, okay. So as I said, this is Green Agenda for Ukraine. We have the regional project, which covers besides Ukraine, other 3 countries in Eastern Europe and South Caucasus. It's Moldova, Georgia, and Armenia. But today I'm going to focus on the Ukraine. And the main objective of the project is to assist Ukraine in its pathway towards climate neutrality through green transition and recovery by developing the very first country's climate neutrality roadmap to facilitate alignment with the European Green Deal and EU accession requirements. Beside that, we have a quite component, practical component of the project, which is to develop investment-ready projects to bring the roadmap to its implementation. Another big component is the public awareness, because we believe that it's not only important to bring governments on board when it comes to achieving the climate neutrality goals, but also the public. So external outreach is important to support the implementation of the roadmap. And of course, the capacity building. And here capacity building, we mean the enhancing the skills and knowledge of the civil servants in country. And the final is a regional coherence. Even though we understand that these 4 countries within the project have a quite different level of development, but still, if there is some potential opportunities of regional coherence, we would like to use it within the framework of our project in a pursuit of climate neutrality goals. So very briefly on the methodology. So this is our methodology, and we are following European Green Deal lens. As you know, you adopted the European Green Deal, which stipulates that the EU bloc should become climate neutral by 2050. And consider Ukraine's ambitions to become member, and soon the chapter negotiations will be open. We tried to follow the similar lens, but of course understanding also the national situation of the country, in each country simultaneously. So here, as you can see, we have 8 key thematic areas, such as energy, climate, industry, and cross-cutting, such as finance for transition. And one of the main reasons is that we would like to look on comprehensively, holistically looking not only one area, but also several areas. And as I said, it's also important for countries, especially Ukraine, to align with the European policy framework and European Green Deal as the country moves towards a membership. And then finally, we look from the two perspectives. One is the Ukraine's perspective to move forward, to become a EU member state, but also from EU perspective, because it's important to note that EU has this European Green Deal, EU has this goal to become climate neutral, but this will be hard to achieve if EU does not bring its close neighbors on board, in this case, Ukraine. In terms of the key project deliverables, so we have, as I said, the very main deliverable is the Ukraine's climate neutrality roadmap 2050 that should showcase the concrete pathways of how country can achieve the climate neutrality goals. But before that, we are doing comprehensive green transition assessment, and we are at this moment in that implementation phase where we're developing sectoral assessment and then national assessments for Ukraine. And by sectoral, I mean covering the key sectors of the economy, such as industry, zero pollution, climate, energy, but also the cross-cutting such as finances or the just transition. And insights and the findings from the assessment will be then put in the roadmap to develop the concrete pathways showcasing how Ukraine can achieve climate neutrality by 2050 and align its goal to European Green Deal goals. Besides that, so we have the practical part of the project. This is the proposal preparation that will be developed within the framework of the project. This is an opportunity for also an international community in Ukraine to take specific projects and to start and support the government to finance it. And this will be directly fed to the implementation of the roadmap. And the final key deliverable is the capacity building and technical assistance. As I mentioned, it is important to ensure that we build the capacities and we retain the knowledge in the country when it comes to the policy making and achieving the long-term climate neutrality goals for Ukraine. In terms of the finances for transition, this is our cross-cutting area. We are one of the main idea was that when we look to the European Green Deal, you has investment plan, you has a financial strategy, you has different initiatives, and it plans to mobilize quite substantial amount of capital, both private and public, to ensure that the EU bloc meets the requirements by 2050. So for the same reason, we wanted to understand, besides having the concrete pathways of how to achieve climate neutrality, also answer questions, who can fund this, what kind of finances exist, both private and public, to ensure that Ukraine can afford actually in practice achieving its climate neutrality goals. For that reason, we created this cross-cutting thematic area, which is called Finance for Transition. And here we involve both international and national experts developing assessment. And the main goal of the assessment is to increase the understanding of the status quo of the transitional finance in Ukraine and increase the understanding of the gaps that hinder the investment flows into green transition. Our approach is have the three pillars. First, we would like to assess the leverage in the financial market. And why I'm saying the financial market, because as have been a lot of discussions on it, a lot of research also, and a lot of talks in EU within the EU and also the Ukraine. It's important not only to talk about the public money and the budget, how to ensure that public money exists, but also the private ones, investments, and for that we need to look at the financial market. And in this case, this kind of the pillar aims to assess national financial framework in financing green transition in Ukraine. And here we look at set of policies, guidelines, roadmaps, regulations, and compare to the European Green Deal. And the second two pillars is assessing the key sectors such as energy, climate, zero pollution, industry, biodiversity, and also the cross-cutting. And in this case, here we have a specific approach by looking on the demand side. So what is demanded, what is needed to make sure that there is available finance. Then supply side, what is actually supplied in these sectors when it comes for the finance for transition, and what are the gaps. And based on this analysis, we would like to develop quite concrete steps, critical steps, actions, which may unlock finances and investments to ensure that there is enough finances for Ukraine to achieve climate neutrality. And this will be fed and put in a roadmap. So this is our approach. And as I said, now we're in implementation phase, and it should be, we are developing an assessment for sectoral and national, and we should be done by summer 2024. And then we will start working on the developing the country's very first climate neutrality roadmap. So I'll stop here. And maybe if there are some questions, I would like to take them.
Дякую, Милано.
Thank you, Milano. I think that the questions may be asked in chat. Just look at the chat. I can see that some of our participants are already giving answers in the chat. So let me invite you to answer the questions there because we are a little bit late, a little bit behind with our panel. So
Thank you.
today we have introduced a lot of initiatives in Ukraine, but anyway, the final say goes to Daria Honcharenko from the Ministry of Economy, and I would ask you, Daria, to tell what are going to be the first further steps. Of course, the Deputy Minister of Economy, Nadia Bihun, has told us a lot about this, but maybe Daria, you could just in a couple of words focus on specific things. Good afternoon, dear participants, dear colleagues. So let me welcome all the participants of the conference. And you can see that today the issue of green transition is on the agenda not only of the whole planet as such, but on the agenda of Ukraine, because this is the matter of not today, but of tomorrow and of the future recovery of our territories after our victory. Well, in fact, just to be brief, circular economy enables us to largely save some resources, materials to have sustainable resource consumption, stimulate innovations, increase the number of jobs, which is very important now for Ukraine. And it also enables the economy to grow and the revenues to the budgets of all levels. But along with that, now Ukraine is really facing a major problem with waste management. And this problem is becoming relevant due to several factors. First of all, Ukraine is importing up to 40% of raw materials for the production of cardboard, glass, plastic, and the volume of waste in the country is growing from year to year. Unfortunately, the processing share is only 3%. And now we've also got the destruction waste, which, according to expert evaluation, makes 12 million tons, which is an annual amount of solid domestic waste. What is the way out? This is development of circular economy on the basis of industrial parks. And to stimulate the development of circular economy in 2024, we are waiting for the amendments to the law on industrial parks concerning introduction of the new concept of eco-industrial parks that will enable us to have this industrial symbiosis, which is a way to reorganize the principle of circular economy when waste from one company becomes the raw material for the other enterprise. And I know that my colleagues have been dealing with the issue of creating databases, as mentioned today, because we need to know what waste could become a resource for some other enterprises. So we're working on this issue, and I hope that we will also keep working on this matter and that we will be able to set the recovery of Ukraine on the so-called green rail and thus on green track, and thus we will fulfill our commitments given to the EU, and we will also be able to reconstruct our country. Thank you, Daria, for this wrap up, and thank you for mentioning eco-industrial parks. I would like to mention that the resource efficient and cleaner production center is also dealing with the eco-industrial parks and writing some documents. And as far as the wrap up of our panel is concerned, so what I've heard is that in 2024, we are in for very good results. So let's work together towards achieving those deliverables. And I hope that in December next year, we will already have both the deliverables and the data and the strategies and the policies and a large-scale industrial diagnostics. So I think that we can really make progress in terms of implementing circular economy in Ukraine. And this conference could be a kind of a consolidating platform for that. So let me express my gratitude to all our panelists and to the whole audience, and let me give the floor to Katarina. Thank you, our moderator, Andriy. Thank you, dear speakers, dear panelists. Please take your seats in the room. So I suggest that we speak now on the practical outcomes of EU support in promoting circular economy, which is panel number 2. We are a little bit behind the schedule, so I would really ask our panelists to be more active to kind of catch up with the agenda. And I, as the facilitator, will be following this and will be helping the moderator to really be on time. So at our second panel, we suggest that you have a look on the results or practical outcomes of EU support in promoting circular economy in Ukraine. In particular, the achievements of pilot companies and the mutual support of the companies that are a part of the resource efficiency and cleaner production clubs. And also we will present the results related to industrial waste mapping and piloting of product environmental footprint will be presented. So let me invite Tatiana Dehodia, Acting Technical Director of the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center. Tatiana, you are very much welcome. Take a seat here on the stage. Join me. Then Mr. Volodymyr Kripke, Director of Production Development and Innovation from Kyiv Huma LLC. Svetlana Permenova, Product Environmental Footprint Expert Director, Center for Environmental Certification Labeling, Żywa Planeta, Living Planet. And also you will hear our online speakers, so, Olena Cherkovska, who is the representative of Good Valley, Ukraine, Mr. Philip Ryshin, Director of Prime Snack LLC, Mr. Ivan Amirchuk, Regional Coordinator from the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center, and Mr. Yuri Konichenko, CEO of Zviska paper plant. And let me give the floor to our moderator, Alexei Tchaikovsky, Regional Coordinator, Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center. Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. So you already heard a lot about the circular economy. I will be very brief to really fit into the schedule that we've got. So circular economy as the notion and the process contains a lot of components. So one of them is resource efficiency and clean production. In the first panel, you have heard about some theoretical approaches, and now we're going to tell you about some practical outcomes our center has got within different projects where we participated. So let me tell about let me invite Tatiana Dehodia to tell about the basic practical outcomes. She is now the acting technical director of our center. Thank you, Alexei. Welcome to all the participants. In my presentation, I will tell you about the practical results achieved by the industrial companies in 4 directions for our cooperation within the EU4Environment program. And let me start with some demo enterprises that we diagnosed following the resource efficient and clean production methodology. I will use this RECP abbreviation later. And why are we talking about RECP? Because this is one of the approaches of circular economy at a certain stage of production. So we have diagnosed and examined 12 enterprises in 5 sectors. And you can see those sectors on the slide. And generally, we started our cooperation with quite a number of enterprises. So we had more of them. We had 4 coordinators in 4 regions of Ukraine. But then there came the pandemic and then the full-scale invasion. And of course, this all affected the process. We cooperated with each of the enterprises for about 9 months because this is a resource-intense and work-intense project consisting of several stages, which you can see in the slide. And we also had to hold trainings on RECP develop business cases for all companies, and our experts helped us in the development of investment proposals for the priority directions of the enterprises. And as far as practical outcomes of demo companies are concerned, so for 12 companies, we developed 75 RECP activities, and it's a pleasure for me to point it out that at the end of the monitoring period, which was the end of summer and the beginning of autumn, 24 activities had already been implemented and 6 are now in the making. It's a pleasure for me to see that those demo enterprises are introducing not only the activities that we offered to them, but the ones that they developed on their own. And these are not only resource-saving activities, but also the ones related to improvement of workplaces, work conditions, and some companies were really urged to follow the resource-saving policy. And we know that one of the food enterprises that we examined at the beginning of this year is generally now rebuilding its production facilities, and they will probably have many practical outcomes. In this slide, you can see the capacity identified and the results achieved in figures. And let me go over to another direction. So with the beginning of the full-scale invasion, the EU4Environment program launched another direction, which is counseling for relocated companies in the green recovery domain. And we started with a survey of companies concerning their needs for counseling. And we were supported by the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine in the dissemination of this survey. And then 60 enterprises made their applications, and according to the ranking, we selected 15 for counseling. So we conducted 20 consultations for 15 enterprises, which means that there was more than one consultation for some enterprises. All in all, 24 solutions were devised, and also we prepared business cases for those enterprises. And also let me point it out that besides the reports that the enterprises got on the basis of the consultancy process, we also provided the basis of programs, support programs and grants that were currently functioning for relocated businesses, production businesses. And again, it's a pleasure for me to mention that at least one of the companies managed to use this support program. They procured the laser bench and managed to reduce the waste, production waste, which is one of the problematic issues we are constantly addressed by light industry enterprises. So, well, unfortunately, the representative of this enterprise failed to come today, but we have such results. Here is the next direction. So today we have also had some statements made about the industrial waste mapping. So that's what we also dealt with in the EU4Environment program. The applications were submitted by 17 communities, and finally we selected 2. This is Davidi village territorial community and Slavutic town territorial community. So we had the survey, and you can see the figures in the slide. Then it was clarified what the scope, what the types of waste created are, and after detailed analysis, we prepared action plans for each of the communities with priority actions. So for the Vidya community, that was 12 activities, and for Slavuta community, it was 9 activities. The events that showed the highest environmental effect for each of the communities, like for the Vidya community, it was prevention of the adhesive film formation, and for Slavuta it was the gypsum processing. So we also developed a map on the basis of Google Maps for the generation, collection and processing of or disposal of the waste. So you can find the survey on using this QR code. And here is the last direction, the first direction within this project that I would like to share with you is creation of the RECP RECP clubs in Ukraine. So we had those clubs created in Khmelnytsky and in Poltava, and 7 enterprises were included into those clubs and 17 experts who were the representatives of those clubs. The participants developed action plans related to resource efficiency and cleaner production at every enterprise, and the experts of our center provided technical reports to the companies with a description of their RECP activities. And all in all, for 14 companies, we developed more than 40 of such activities, and of the date of the monitoring, 16 had already been implemented. And it's a pleasure for me to point it out that the tendency is that about 30% of events that we suggest are implemented right in the first months after we provide our technical reports. Also, for all those companies, we prepared business cases. They are already available on our website. And both the participants and the companies got their awards in the form of certificates um, uh, for their progress and for their identified capacity. If you want to get more information, again, please go to our website using this QR code. And I will probably conclude with this. Thank you for attention. Thank you, Tatiana. I understand that you cannot share all the information within 5 minutes, but thanks a lot for giving such information to us, and thank you for mentioning the respective period when it was really difficult to generally work with enterprises, but nevertheless, you did it, we did it. We also cooperated with Kiyuhuma LLC, and let me read whom we have here. This is Director of Production, Development and Innovation, R&D, Vladimir Kripke. Please share your experience of our cooperation. Well, I will be happy. Thank you for the invitation. Let me share our experience of cooperation. So in one word, it would be, I recommend you to cooperate with the RECP Center. We, as our company, have been functioning for about 90 years. And in the recent period, we have moved been relocated, so we had a perfect opportunity to build everything from scratch and to use some innovations. So the first conclusions of our colleagues after they made analysis of our use of the resources, in particular energy resources like water, gas resources, were that everything is fine with you. In fact, you can work like this further on, but we understand that anyway, there are always some options for improving in some areas of using the resources. So our colleagues helped us with those improvements. After making some analysis, I mean, they came to the field. They came with specific equipment, with thermal imaging devices to our place. They examined absolutely all the pipelines and jotted everything down, took pictures, and wrote a report that here you could reduce the losses, here you could reduce the losses. So this was mainly aimed at the steam vapor, steam energy losses that we have in our production site. Over the first year of our cooperation and now the recent 2 years, we have performed about 80% of the recommendations. We didn't make any calculations in terms of quantities because there may be some surcharge heat in some areas, but there are also specific facilities where we need specific temperature mode. So it was not useful to actually calculate this, but we got about 20 recommendations. We performed almost 80% of those activities. All in all, we spent about 300,000 hryvnias on this, but I think that the payback is already there. And of course, well, last year it was not the year of green energy and circular economy for us. That was the matter of survival. You all remember last winter. And of course, there was no energy, so we were forced to procure about 6 diesel generators within a very short period of time. These were absolutely non-efficient things, but this is better than not to work at all. But this year we have already taken a different trajectory. Well, touch wood, we have placed solar panels on all of our roofs. So we have got 4 phases of our solar panels. And in the summer months, we have got savings up to 20% of our energy consumption. In figures, this is about 180,000 kilowatt hours per month. Within a year, we intend to get a savings of about 8–9%, and this is the figure that can be confirmed by the first months of our work. We will not further invest into some generators or accumulators, because even according to the most optimistic scenario, further solar panels will have the payback period of about 20 years. But we are always in favor of some innovations. And this is about resources, energy resources. But if we speak about such resources as raw materials, we just have, as every enterprise, be working towards the reduction of the resources. And for quite a long period of time, we have not already had a problem with packaging. Since the very first day of our existence in Brovary, everything has been sorted, like film goes separately, cardboard goes separately. So 90% of our technology waste is just sold in plastic, and these are copies, but we are not paying for this, so this is important. They are using special methods of regeneration, repeat use, and within a month we get about 18 or 12, 20 tons of those polymer waste. And not a single polygon accepts them, and not a single incineration plant accepts this. They just don't want to do this. So in fact, if we had no place to put it, within 3 or 4 months, our area would be full. And in this way, our consumers are paying money for that. So we never give any rejections. If somebody wants to use this for their own purposes, this is okay. Thank you, Volodymyr. It's a pleasure that even a year after we stopped our cooperation, you've started implementing resource-efficient and cleaner production methods in your own. On your own, you're still a success. As Tatiana has mentioned, we had some demo enterprises, demo companies, and one of them was not exactly typical, because it is an agricultural producer. And let me introduce Olena Cherkovska, who will inform us about the results of work of our cooperation with the Good Value company. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure that today I have a chance to present the results of our work, because these are quite significant results. And let me tell the way it has been happening, and please let me know whether you can see the screen. No, we cannot see the screen.
Так, видно.
Видно, так?
Now we can see it. Yes. Thank you, Alexei. And as you have mentioned, we are an agricultural company located in Ivano-Frankivsk region, and we can proudly state that we are among top 10 of pork meat in Ukraine, which means that our capacity is really very high, and that's why we have a lot of costs. and a lot of additional costs, production costs. So for us, it was really important as for a company taking care of the environment to be looking for new ways for improvements and new ways of cooperating with other companies for the benefit of our nature. Together with the Resource Efficiency and Cleaner Production Center, we conducted a rather large-scale research, the essence of which was to find the approaches to preserve our resources. I just have to specify whether you also can see the second slide or no, because somehow it doesn't click with me. Yes, we can see a second slide. Good, thank you. Also, this year, as mentioned, we have participated in the EU4Environment project as a demo enterprise, and colleagues have helped us find the approaches to efficient production. Our capacities are really very significant. That's why we had a lot of things to work with, because our company has about 9 different farms. All in all, this is 14,000 pigs, and we are leasing about 18,000 hectares of land, and our company has more than 600 staff members, which means that the resources are quite significant, the capacity quite significant, and this is something we had to work on. Also, we have different locations, and we have the forage production plant where we produce food for our pigs, and also we have a boiler house that provides energy or steam to the forage plant. So we took those 2 facilities for analysis purposes, production analysis, in order to see what we can improve there. And we had several stages, which was planning, assessment of the capacity, determination of the goals, detailed examination, finding specific solutions, and a lot of other things. And according to the preliminary assessment, for 2022, our basic indicators are 113 tons of forage, and we spent almost 8 million kilowatt hours of energy. And on the basis of the results of this analysis, we understood, and our colleagues actually helped us to identify it, that the possible capacity for reducing the amount of energy resources is about 30%. And here you can see data analysis and cooperation with our colleagues. These are the pictures from the production side and from the boiler house, where together with our staff members, you could have a look at the detailed work of such work, and we could find some gaps and remove them. And also, we identified several proposals concerning the replacement of the burner on the boiler house, on the boiler. And the most important suggestion came from the RECP center, was to replace this burner on the boiler, and the results of this replacement show that the consumption of gas has been reduced almost by 17%, so the expected pay reduction will be about 1 million hryvnias per year. Well, of course, we still need time to make those calculations, but the preliminary figures are very positive. Besides that, we had some training for our staff, where our colleagues, in particular Alexei and his colleagues, taught us in terms of theory and practice, and we also considered specific cases together with them. In particular, these were cases for our staff members, and already the experts from the center provided some specific solutions as to what could be implemented in order to save the resources. And as a result, just let me show you why, to show you how our company is working on the closed cycle. We've got our own fields where we grow grain, where we produce forage, which we give as food to our pigs then. And that's why we have green energy production based on organic waste. And therefore, it was really important for us to make this analysis to arrange this successful cooperation, because that will not help us work with a minimum negative impact on the environment, and thus take care of the environment and to work well. So this cooperation has really been important for us. Thank you, Olena, and let me remind everyone that you may ask questions online. So we are all leaving our trace on the earth, good or bad, but we leave some trace, some imprint in the form of the results of our work, some books written, articles written, students trained, well, children are left. But what about our products? So let's talk about the environmental footprint of or the food product environmental footprint. Please, Svetlana Permenova. Yes, let's wait for the presentation. So far, I cannot see it. But do I have to click something to promote this, to make this happen? No? So the product environmental footprint, I'm going to tell you what we mean by this, but let's first tell on the parties engaged. This is the RECP Center, which was the coordinator with the support of the EU4Environment, and consultants were the company Press Sustainability from the Netherlands. They were guiding the process and telling us how to do the modeling and simulation. And they are the developers of the software thanks to which this modeling can be done. So 3 Ukrainian companies were selected, and for every company we had one expert who was actually performing this research. I'm one of such experts. So what is product environmental footprint? A simple definition that this is a method of the quantitative assessment of environmental impacts of the production over the full life cycle. So let's understand that all assessments are made either to take a managerial decision towards improvement of the product and reduction of its impact. So we are doing making the analysis to understand how the negative impact could be reduced, or we use it to build the communication and to tell in the market that our products have got better environmental characteristics. So like the LED lamp or the biodegradable package or the energy efficient fridge. But if we have a look at 2 energy efficient fridges, we will see that one fridge within 3 years will just turn into waste, and this waste will never compensate its overall energy efficiency. So we moved on and started looking at the product in a wider context and to determine its characteristic during the life cycle for the approach not to be one-sided. And in that way, we got the first type marking or labeling program when we look from cradle to grave on this fridge. Starting with corresponds to the requirements, we can build the communication that this is a product with improved environmental characteristics. That's the way the Ukrainian program Zeleny Журавлик or Green Crane works, and that's the way the European Blue Angel or Kvitka program function. That's it. But suppose people have decided to move further and to embrace not only the whole life cycle, but also have a look on all possible, any possible impacts. We don't take just hotspots, but take just everything that is somehow related to that. And as a result of the assessment, we shouldn't see good or bad, but we should see the figure as the price. You see the product, the price is 2 and the price for the other one is 3, and you don't have doubt that this is more expensive. So you could do the same, like impact 1 and impact 2 for us to really be able to say that impact 2 is more. And the whole life cycle has been embraced, and 16 indicators have been embraced within this methodology. So these 16 indicators are in the slide. I will not enumerate them, but they could be split into 3 relative groups. One related to human health. These are toxins causing cancer or not causing cancer, but just toxins. Exhaustion of water resources and mineral resources. So these are the 3 groups. But within the life cycle, we are analyzing the impact of the product by those 16 criteria. And we can see the climate change, which is related to CO2 emissions. Maybe somebody knows about the carbon footprint methodology, which is actually assessment of the carbon footprint. So this carbon footprint is just one, and here you have 15 more categories by which we analyze the product. Of course, this methodology is labor intensive, and it requires quite a number of data from different databases. This is expensive, labor intensive, it's not for everyone. So we selected several companies for the research, and this was the prime snack company producing cheese balls with no conserving agents, using the vacuum drying method. And this is the first company that was ever certified in Ukraine within this type of products. The other Alpha XT company from Poltava region produces socks. And now let's have a look at our modeling, how this can be used. So let's take the socks. To the right in this slide, you can see the life cycle written by the developer to understand the production process and all the points of entry and exit for the materials and substances that accompany this process. So to the left, you can see the functional unit. And when we do modeling, we need to say that this is the unit, this is the functional unit. We cannot be comparing women's socks with children's socks made from a different material. So we clearly identify the product for which we're building this model, and then we are implementing those declarations only to it. So this is what a person, the developer, wrote. And here is the CIMA Pro result. This is software that works on the basis of the input of the data collected at the enterprises, at the facility sites, the production sites. So these are the production elements, starting with the production of threads in China and up to the assembly of those socks here. Inside, well, you probably cannot see it, but I wanted to visualize this. You've got figures inside all those boxes, like carbon emissions for each stage, and those red lines are about the highest flows of substances in between the processes. Here you saw, let's say, carbon emissions, but in the settings you can actually set any of those indicators. Here you can probably see more. So the colors of those boxes show the units of the life cycle, but inside you can see the data. So it's a very good tool for the technologists, for the ecologists of the company. If you immerse into this data, you can get an insight how to improve. Well, here is another. You have got some columns, for example, for cheese balls production. You can see in the X line those 16 categories of impact, and vertically, we've got the representation of the product impact on different stages of life cycle, where you can see the maximum impact. And here, well, just imagine that these are two products. So the first and the second column are high. These are two products, and the first product has, let's say, 4.5 impact, and the second one has the impact less than 1.4. And in colors, we can see those 16 categories. So we can see that product one is characterized by high impact. You can see how much higher this impact is and what gaps it has in terms of colors, which characterize those 16 indicators mentioned by me. What did we learn which was hidden? For example, analyzing socks. Well, of course, the major process of impact is related to emission, and that was at the stage of socks production of packaging, the highest level of carbon dioxide. But we would have never learned without this modeling that 25% of the impact of SOx actually takes place at the point of using them. When we wash them, we have very high impact on the destruction of the ozone layer. Maybe this is related to the detergents. So this is not possible without modeling. Also, as far as cheese balls, snack balls, of importance is production of dairy for cheese in the Netherlands, where refrigerants are used. So it correlates with high level of impact on the toxicity of water side. So you cannot see it without modeling, without this software. And here are the conclusions. I will not read them out. I hope that we will still give the floor to one of the companies where we conducted the study. But here you can see the conclusions, and this is for conscious entrepreneurs. PEF is the highest level of competition that is for those who understand what eco-responsibilities for the companies that have environmental policy. It's not for everyone. This is the top level of competition. That's why it's very good that Ukrainian businesses had a chance to undergo this study. And for me, as for a person who's been dealing for 15 years with labeling, this came as a revelation. I was impressed, but now I can tell that I know at least much more than before the beginning of the project. It's expensive. It's not quite affordable for everyone. It's only for conscious entrepreneurs. Thank you. Thank you, Svetlana. And we still have one slide that is going to be commented by Polybrishin. Please share the screen. Next slide. Can you hear me?
Добре, здравствуйте. По-перше, дуже дякую за
So
можливість.
first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting of this community. It's very interesting to hear all this information. And you know, Pratt Snack Company is the innovation producer of snack products, which are dry cheese balls of Snacko trademark. And since the very beginning of our history, the history of our company, energy efficiency and environmental friendliness were a priority for us. That's why trademark Snacko has got this echo suffix, which is very important for us. Just not to take too much of your time, let me tell you a little bit about the research. First of all, we all the time focus on the sustainable development goals, and we don't want to minimize the environmental impact of our production and product. Environmental responsibility urged us to participate in this project, the task of which was to give the understanding of the environmental footprint related to our product. We as producers could get this idea, and our consumers could get this idea, because it's really of utmost importance. And our goal is to position our brand, the Snacko brand, as the leader in the field of sustainable business, promoting loyalty among our customers who are taking care of the environment. And we want to differ with this in the market where we position ourselves. spreading our experience and the results, we would like to raise the level of environmental consciousness of all the market participants, and we would like to promote sustainable practices in the Ukrainian market. Reduction of the costs via identification of the areas in our supply chain and production chain where we could optimize the use of the resources has enabled us not just to reduce our environmental footprint, but to achieve operational efficiency and finally reduce the costs of production. And in general, this research was not just an exercise to perform to meet some requirements, or to arrange some documents. That was a strategic investment. And today, having a look at the results Svetlana has already presented, we can really state that participation in this project positions us, together with other companies engaged in this activity, as responsible business caring of the future and ready to really follow the principles of sustainability and environmental friendliness. We want to be environmentally conscious and to have an environmentally conscious future for Ukraine. So thanks a lot for this opportunity provided to us to get this experience, to get the results of this research. We are proud that we were the first in Ukraine to get this green crane, Zelený Žuravlik, and we were the first to get such a large-scale study related to environmental purposes. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Pilip. And I hope that you will also be among the first to participate in the circularization of the Ukrainian economy. Thank you. And we still have 2 participants. I think that will be quick, and then we will have a break. So as far as the opportunities of circular transition for SMEs of Ukraine are concerned, Ivan Omelchuk is going to tell us about this. He will join us from Kharkiv now. Ivan, you're welcome. Over to you. Yes, good afternoon to everyone. I hope that you can hear me and can see my presentation. So since we are pressed for time, I will probably shorten it twice. But let me tell you that I'm really happy to see all of you and to participate in this event. I will probably skip the international context, the EU policy, and I will focus right away on circular economy and business. And let me give the figures of 2 studies. The first study was the one by the RECP Center, and the other one was done by the World Council of Business for Sustainable Development. And this data shows that only 51% of companies are ready to accept at least one model over the next 3 to 5 years. Only 12% claim that circularity considers the business of their business strategy. But if we have a look deeper on those processes and the very concept of circular economy, we can actually see that out of 8 or 9 business models that are used within circular economy, mainly only 4 are used, and mainly businesses and companies pay attention to either restoration of resources or making the shelf life of the product longer. And if we speak about resource restoration, this proves once again that cleaner production and resource efficiency could be used as the basis for transition of businesses to circular economy. And if we speak about the RECP study, we had several sources of information. The first one definitely being our own experience and our clients. We worked on our database to identify the approaches, the areas where we could apply approaches to circular economy that would be relevant for us and for Ukraine. Also, we made some surveys when the companies sent us their cases with substantiations and the information on what approaches they are using for circular economy. And also, we used the data from open sources where we identified those facts, those samples, and we can also identify some trends that correlate well with the study that has just been shared with you. But if we have a look at the problems and the possibilities or solutions for SMEs, for production companies, we can actually single out here the main points. I will probably place them into such dichotomatic couples, like the problem and the solution. So first of all, we can see that there is no organization that would unite the stakeholders and that would strive to really help SMEs in the implementation of the circular economy principles. Of course, the resource efficiency in cleaner production center could become a nuclear for that, a core for that, because you have the staff capacity, you have the client base, and you have got the experience of working in this field. Also, we have shortage of experts in circular economy experts, and here I'm not talking about some general experts, let's say in the political dimension, but branch sectoral experts. We have heard today a lot of examples coming from different sectors, and if we take the circular economy action plan of Green Deal, we will see that there is segmentation into textile, we have segmentation into plastic, and if we open our chat today, you will see that there were some questions coming about textile as well. And the relevant issue about the training of those staff members, those external experts who could be engaged in different programs using the capacity shared today, and also training of experts within the company, within companies, because these are the people who would have the clear vision of what circular economy is, what prospects are there for circular economy, what financial tools could be used. This is the next item. Then definitely development of strategies for circular transition of companies. We are working with companies and we understand that many companies don't understand what circular economy actually stands for. And even if they are implementing something, they don't always know that this corresponds to circular economy. And in case they are implementing, these are some situational things and they are not built into the strategy. I don't mean that it's so with every single company, but most the situation is like this. So development of this tool would enable us to have a step-by-step trajectory that could further be replicated onto other companies that could use them. So Henri Knapp has been talking on that. He's been talking about the information flops and about development of the knowledge base and opportunities. When a company can enter some portal, let's say Business D or some other portal, a separate portal, and have a look at some basic things, at some guidelines, as they may get a consultation from an expert or make an agreement about their engagement in a project in order to implement circular economy approaches. And also creation of the networks of circular business. We know that circular economy is not just a story about the inside of the company. A lot happens beyond. It's the clients, customer client, and the previous speaker has dwelt on this. So the use of these such approaches and practices and company being united by those features will enable replication of this process. And also we need to specifically develop recommendations for amalgamated territorial communities. Because, you know, every company is located within some territorial community. Mr. Joy and Stefan today mentioned that all these decisions need to be integrated in the regional and territorial policies, which means that if a company is a success in the field of circular economy, it needs to somehow transfer this success onto the territorial community. There must be a dialogue in place. And creation of such centers, of such projects, opportunities will give the reason for communication, for coordination. If we have a look on the overall picture, we can see that within 100 weeks, you can take some steps, like here you have identification of the directions. You can also develop trainings and information campaigns for training internal and external experts. You can also have the development of the strategy and a certain methodology for, let's say, 20 enterprises. And it's also possible to provide consultations. So this is what can be done within, let's say, 100 weeks. So I'm urging everyone to cooperate. Let's get united around circular economy. Let's help SMEs in this way. I hope that I've been well within the time, and you can see my email here. So I'm inviting you, please write to me. Let's exchange ideas and let's move on together towards circular economy and green recovery, green development. Thank you. Thank you, Ivan. I was trying to make comment, but the microphone didn't work. Sorry for that. And we still have one panelist, the CEO of Zmivka paper plant, and the speaker will tell us about our cooperation, just in brief, in terms of green recovery, and he will show also a short video. So Yuri, you're welcome. Yes, good afternoon. I don't think that I will show a video because we are pressed for time, but finally, I want to say that finally, I've seen like-minded people who agree to the idea that we need to work in this direction. Our company has been processing the Tetra Pak packages for 10 years, and well, just for you to see them. So we produce paper, and then those packages are produced, and these granules that we have received all the necessary documents for it. So these granules are also used for some other products, and we have received the documentation for using it in bitumen, which is asphalt. It finally becomes clear to me what circular economy is thanks to this conference. To be brief, I would also like to say that I agree with Volodymyr Bajan, who said that we don't have a separate collection of waste. It's important, really, if we have the representatives of the Ministry of Economy here, for them to hear this idea. We are really working on separate collection of waste, and together with the Tetra Pak company for many years we have been trying to introduce this, but that's not what we have now. This can be done. We have a good experience in Slovenia, in Spain, we have good experience in Germany. This really can be done with no major finance. And I agree that we are really importing a lot of raw materials. We are a company that produces paper, but we we normally import raw materials. So for the raw materials to be available here in Ukraine, we need to change the very principle of the economy, of the state economy. And let me tell that having significant experience of working in separate sorting, I would really like to work with someone who can affect the overall situation. And also let me say that now, before the war, before the full-scale invasion, we processed about 7,000 tons a year, and about 40% is our Ukrainian raw material. All the other things are the imported ones, but that can be changed, I think. But just we need to have the separate collection of waste. And I also agree with Joab Ravitz, who said that we are now a linear economy. We are really thinking about our profits, but we need the supervising hand that could be somehow guiding all businesses for them to be able to cooperate with each other. We need the supervisor. So that's what I would like to say. And thanks a lot for inviting me here. Thank you for this because I've really heard and seen a lot of things I've never understood. I didn't know that we have such things in this country already. Thank you. Thank you, Volodymyr. Thank you, Yuri said it. I think that you will be heard by the stakeholders, and your proposals will concerning separate collection and processing of Tetra Paks. Well, they will hear you and take it into account, and will contact you. Thank you for your participation in this panel discussion. Let me give the floor to our host, Katarina. She will probably tell a couple of words, and we will follow what she says. Thank you, dear participants. Thank you for such an active panel discussion. And I will ask Tatiana and Svetlana to take your seats in the room. Volodymyr, please stay, because Oleksiy, who is really very much willing to do this, could award you with a certificate as one of the 12 demo enterprises that actively participated in the EU4Environment program. The other demo companies, the list of which you can see in the screen, will get electronic certificates, and 15 companies that are participating in the consulting and stage on green recovery, and 3 pilot projects on PEF will also get e-certificates after the event. Thanks a lot. We have prepared with an EU4Environment video. Let's watch a video. Green recovery of the industry of Ukraine, supported by the EU4Environment program. The aggressive war of Russia against Ukraine has made millions of people flee and caused infrastructure destructions that has had a negative impact on the economy and has brought an inadvertent damages to the environment. But thanks to hard work of Ukrainians and international partners, the Ukrainian economy has survived and has good prospects for recovery, of which an important component is the business sector that is taking effort to restore its production capacities and create safe conditions of work. Over the first year of the war, more than 800 companies were relocated and more than 650 restored their work in the new place. Within the EU4Environment program, which is funded by the European Union, the Resource Efficiency and Cleaner Production Center, via a survey, identified the needs and the challenges of the relocated businesses. But after relocation, the company is facing many challenges, the most difficult of which is disruptions in supply chain, shortage of qualified staff, and high costs of energy, as well as problems of sales and lack of development of infrastructure. And there are a lot of factors that impact the relocation decisions, like energy resources, logistics, industrial lands, and housing, and safety of staff. While increasing the capacities, relocated companies have more needs for logistics, energy, additional areas. So with the support of the EU4Environment program, companies will be able to consume less energy and resources. They can change for green recovery and contribute to the lower impact on the environment. During the war, the program has been holding trainings and providing consultations on energy efficiency measures, resource saving, environmental safety, and money savings. 14 companies from different sectors of the industry that participated in a joint training managed to reduce emissions into the atmosphere and reduce consumption of energy. And 12 demo companies that got individual consultations saved money and energy resources, at the same time reducing the impact on the environment. And during the Ukraine Green Recovery Conference that took place in Vilnius, it was stressed that the society, businesses, and the government are still ready to follow the principles of the circular economy and the European Green Deal. The European Union stands ready to continue supporting the green recovery of Ukraine, moving together towards green recovery. The video has been developed with the financial support of the European Union. I hope that after such an inspiring video, we can go over to our panel discussion. And let me, Katarina Rufanova, if you don't know what my name is, to be the moderator of the panel discussion number 3, dedicated to circular economy, knowledge development and networking, where we are going to talk about the global trends in circular economy, knowledge development, about knowledge gaps in Ukraine to be addressed, and we will talk about online training courses and global knowledge networks. And let me invite Andriy Varfolomeyev, who is director of the Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Center, and Katarina Kopyshinska, who is associate professor of the Department of Enterprise Management, National Technical University of Ukraine, Sikorsky Kyiv Polytechnic Institute. Also, we will have some online participants in our panel. I hope that the organizers can now show them in the screen. So this is Mr. Edward Clarence Smith, the Senior Advisor on Green Industry and Circular Economy of UNIDO. Ms. Olena Maslukivska, Associate Professor from the National University of Kyiv Mahila Academy. Mr. Hannes McNulty, Green Industry Platform Manager, Green Growth Knowledge Partnership. Mr. Lars Ratien, Associate Research Scientist, Chemistry in Engineering at Yale University. And we have all the participants, and let's start with our online speakers. So, Mr. Edward Clarence Smith, what do you think? Circular economy is a rather new branch of knowledge. So, could you describe the way it is now developing in the world? What are the core global trends? Edward, over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much for that question, and good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be with you all. So, I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I think we have to be somewhat realistic about the level of knowledge out there in the economy as a whole about circular economies. I'd say the first point I'd make is that there are still pretty low levels of awareness about what we're talking about when it comes to circular economy. I mean, circular economy has been, if you want, part of the discussion in environmental circles, which is where I've generally tended to be for maybe several decades now. But those discussions have been very much in a silo, I would say. And it's only really in the last 5 to 10 years that that discussion has been leaking into mainstream discussions about economies. Now, by definition, the concept of a circular economy is economy-wide. And therefore, if we are going to be successful in the transition towards a circular economy, we need all of the actors in the economy to understand what is a circular economy and what is their role in the transition to a circular economy. And here I'm very much reminded of a story from my past when I was a consultant and I was working with a company where the CEO had decided that the company was going to become a leader in quality. And of course, if a company is going to be truly successful on quality, everybody in the company has to be aware of what quality is and what their role is in promoting quality. Of course, the company did the normal things, which is to set up a specialist department in the company that dealt with quality. There was training and so on. But the CEO, he always, every time he went to any of his factories, he would spend at least 10 minutes just stopping people randomly in the company and asking them, excuse me, what do you think of the program of quality in the company, and what is your role in that program? And quite often at the beginning, he would get blank stares because really the message had not trickled down, percolated throughout the company. And it's exactly the same thing with the circular economy. I'm willing to bet you all 10 euros that if I were to go into the Ministry of Economy and just randomly stop people in the ministry and said, excuse me, what are your views on the circular economy and what do you think Ukraine should be doing? I would get blank stares. And it would be the same if I went to industry. And not just the SMEs. I'm sure that if I went into large companies, and again, I just stopped people randomly on the production floor and said, so, you know, what is the role of your company in circular economy? They would look at me blankly because they have no real idea of what I'm talking about. And this is a big issue. It is a big issue because if we are going to truly transition to a circular economy, everybody in the economy must know what it is that we're talking about. Second point, though, I would make, and this is important too, that many actors in the economy are actually undertaking circular economy practices, but they don't know them as being part of circular economy because they don't know really what a circular economy is. And in fact, today we've heard many stories of things that are going on, primarily in the industrial context, of activities which are squarely in the area of circular economy. But there are many actors out there in the economy who are doing circular economy practices, but simply don't know that they are doing that. And a third point then around this is that because these economy-wide discussions are still very much at early stages, the idea of what a circular economy actually would look like in the Ukraine, but actually in my own country, in the UK, or anywhere in Europe or in the US, is it's not being fixed at all. It's still pretty fluid, and there is still a lot of discussions that are required to really understand what this concept actually means in practice in particular countries. Now, my fourth point is that, and it's really, if you want, a mirror image of the fact that there's not much going on yet, not much awareness, that if somebody does want to find out more about a circular economy, it's not clear where to go, and it's not clear that the information that they will be found is in a format that is understandable to, shall we say, the average person on the street. And I would say that that's a very big gap too at the moment. So I want to keep it short. Those are my 4 points. Recognizing this, I certainly personally have been focusing the last 7-10 years of my life on awareness raising and initial training in the circular economy, because I recognize that there is this huge lack of understanding of what a circular economy is. And I'm glad also to be involved then in the training part of the work that UNIDO is currently doing on circular economies in the Ukraine, because I think that will be a very important way of raising the awareness levels of at least the key actors in the economy. Everybody has to know, but there are key actors, and those are the policymakers. Policymakers have to know what it is exactly their role in the economy, what it is that their ministries or their departments, or at the local level, their local department, can be doing, should be doing, to transition Ukraine to a circular economy. So as I say, I'm very glad to be part of that exercise because I think it is a very fundamental part of what we need to be doing. Thank you.
Дуже вам дякую, пане
Thanks a lot, Edward. Dear speakers, we have a great responsibility within this panel because we have to somehow catch up with our agenda. So I will be really grateful if our future speakers will be able to have their speeches within 5-7 sentences. So please, I would ask Olena Maslukivska, let's focus on Ukraine, in particular on the experience of the European Green Deal. What do you think are the challenges in terms of the development of knowledge on circular economy in Ukraine? Olena, over to you. Thank you, Katarina. Let me tell you that I fully agree with the previous speaker. It's really true that both globally and in Ukraine, the knowledge about circular economy is not yet fixed, is not yet developed. And I would like to focus on the levels of educations where we can actually make some interventions to make people more aware. And I will speak about advanced training after higher education. So first of all, I ground my conclusions on the experience of the EU4Environment program as far as implementation of trainings is concerned for green economy. In particular, we had the introduction to green economy course translated into Ukrainian, and we have it on the UNCC Learn org platform. You have this course in Ukrainian. I'm urging you to take this course. And also EU4Environment within the UN Environment Program has implemented the course Green Transition in Eastern Partnership countries. It was a facilitated course for civil servants. So what are our conclusions? The conclusions are that in order to integrate circular economy knowledge, green economy knowledge, we need to work with the basic institutions like the National Agency of Ukraine on Civil Service, because it has the portal, knowledge management portal, where you can offer some courses, in particular for the organizations that are implementing international technical aid projects. Besides that, for local self-government, we also have a specific scheme or eco scheme, let's call it that way, for advanced training. And it seems to me that it's important that international technical aid projects that are implementing highly innovative things to first develop those courses and materials, and after they are piloted, they should be disseminated and integrated into the currently available educational programs for civil servants. And here is another message concerning higher education. We understand that circular economy is already integrating into the educational space because teachers, lecturers are people. They already offer a number of courses, and these could be either some modules in the courses related to circularity, or these could be separate courses, or even special training programs. But what I think we need to do is to establish experience exchange between lecturers. It's important to have samples or templates of syllabi. We need to have disciplines, so we need to have some training materials, in particular the cases that have been collected within the EU4Environment program by UNIDO. And finally, let me also mention that the National University Kyiv Mohyla Academy is the coordinator of within the Erasmus Mundus design measures of a program, and we are developing a joint master program on resource efficiency, energy efficiency, and circularity, together with 3 partner universities in Paris and in Freiburg. And it seems to me that we need to continue to go on with such activities. And I would really urge you to internationalize Ukrainian education, because these programs evolutionized, and in the US, in Europe, a lot of courses are being developed. So it would really be good if we had joint programs with foreign universities. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Olena. So, the center has working many years on the nationalization of resource efficiency knowledge. What do you think? What should be done in Ukraine of this knowledge for the development of this knowledge further? Thank you for the question. Well, let me also share some slides. I will share the information about our previous work, but I agree with the previous speaker. Circular economy is something rather new in the world. There are ongoing processes related to development, circular economy, and its complementarity with other components. And in Ukraine, we have a lot of growth points, and they are not always. It's really important to as Elena has mentioned, maybe the mental experience exchange, experience sharing between lecturers, because normally it is lecturers and teachers who who launch those new trajectories and new courses. And I've seen a book published in Ukrainian in 2023 on circular economy, but there is almost nothing there about circular economy. As far as our previous experience is concerned, within the previous project for Eastern neighborhood countries, which was implemented by UNIDO, and the center was the implementing partner. So we were introducing resource efficiency at production sites into training programs, and it was interesting because we first had to start with the terminology. We have RECP, we have a lot of borrowed terms, and we wanted to work on them. For example, good housekeeping is a term. Well, we had 2 events where we discussed how we could translate this term in the right way, and it has become the national norm finally. So I think that we should also have the same discussion for circular economy, because there is no consensus even as far as the term is concerned. Somebody says like the ring economy or some other options can be tried. So in 2017, we had our first event together with Katarina on circular economy after the Helsinki Forum on circular economy, and we said that this is the closed loop economy, but somehow 3 words did not survive. So we used circular economy, which is definitely better than circle or ring economy. And this is something we'll still have to do. We will have to reach some national consensus, because probably if we have the principles 10R, we have no R there. And even in English, the difference between some of the terms, even in English, is there. And in Ukrainian, we should differentiate between terms as well. Also, we developed a manual for lecturers. It was not what we offered to businesses, because businesses need more practical information, but for lecturers, we gave a little bit more information for them to be able to use this textbook or manual as the basis for their further work and for further capacity building in their projects, in their disciplines. So we cooperated with 8 universities, which introduced those courses, and then we stopped counting them. Probably some more have done this. We communicated with them, we exchanged the ideas, we provided them with different syllabi. So many institutes, many universities have introduced this course. Separately, I would like to mention that over the period of the pandemic, we prepared the online course on RECP. It's popular even now because we've got about 200 participants who have passed even a test within this course. And normally we have the domestication of knowledge when knowledge gets to the national level, and that goes back to the international level. So I've delivered lectures in English many a time. So first I translated from English into Ukrainian, then from Ukrainian into English for foreign audiences, because we have very interesting experience as well. And this is the course that has been taken by some people from even Indonesia using Google Translate. I don't know how they managed to do that, but they passed the test. And as far as our work within the EU4Environment now is concerned in relation to circular economy, so we have had a survey of our potential audience, because actually we focused on the policymakers because this is the first phase, and on civil servants, and we asked them how it would be convenient for them to consume the content. So that's how we got the idea of a short online course that would anyway disclose information on the strategies of circular economies, the principles, the business models, and within those business models, we have already found some national cases and international cases. So this is going to be a rather illustrative course, where we will also tell about the core added value chains, because we need to start somewhere introducing them. And we will also focus on the development of the policy of circular economy implementation. And this course will be available, I guess, at the end of January for discussion. So I will urge everyone to participate in this discussion.
Дуже дякую.
Thanks a lot, Andy. It's really true that over these 10 years, a lot has been done in circular economy. Katarina, it's not that long ago that you had delivered a course of circular economy at the university, and definitely since you are with us, Andy has definitely read not your textbook, the one that he has mentioned. What about the knowledge in circular economy, and what came as motivation for you to develop those courses for our future generations? Thank you for the question. Well, let me start with saying that really I'm the representative of the academic community and our university, and I'm the representative of the Faculty of Economy. That's what Edward mentioned at the beginning of our third panel. So our university holds a number of studies dedicated to resource efficiency, sustainable development, circular economy, and our faculty has participated in UNIDO projects related to eco-industrial parks, and we've got some projects under the Horizon Europe program, which are also related to the restoration of the Danube swamps and water areas. So this means that we have got some scientific experience, but then we had a look at our students and we came to realize that when they are preparing their bachelor or master papers, they are interested in using the practices of greening, of production, but they don't have access to systemic knowledge. To tell the truth, they have never heard about circular economy. And we have had some communication as to what would be done in this respect. Of course, we would need to try and introduce the discipline related to that. I'm from the Department of Enterprise Management, and all our programs are related to management. And how do we call the discipline that is related to economy for our managers, and take into account the fact that, again, it has been mentioned that the heads of companies and managers should primarily be well aware of the topic. They should be understand the core of circular economy to further implement the outcomes of available practices in their activity, use those practices in their activity. So we decided that we would start with a certificate program, which means that we introduced a selective optional discipline called the Fundamentals of Circular Economy of the European countries within the certification program Business in the EU member states. We've got 5 disciplines there related to business finance in the EU countries, the EU standards, which well, not to, I'm just trying to be quick. So here you can see the components of this program Business in the EU countries. And a lot of these courses have as separate modules the practices that are related to energy efficiency, resource efficiency, but this is not a consistent component. So the discipline related to circular economy as such helps us bring the knowledge of our students into order. And since students can opt for this master level certification program, and they can also opt for this certification program in the complex of other disciplines, and their knowledge as a result will be more comprehensive, embracing a wider range of issues. We tried, while developing this syllabus, to develop our students' abilities to manage energy efficient development of companies. They need to be available. They need to be able to develop business transformation models based on circular economy, circular principles taken into account the EU experience. I'm really happy that I've been to this meeting because I've heard a lot of information, and I've heard about the practical outcomes of Ukrainian enterprises introducing those practices. And now I hope that we will have a chance to focus more on Ukrainian practices in our teaching activity. Because, you know, students sometimes get practical assignments where they need to analyze the circular economy practices of Ukrainian enterprises, but they were at a dead end because normally these practices are covered by the reports on sustainable development, and not every company prepares such a report. Only large companies do this, or the ones that cooperate with the EU. And there it's the basic requirement. Otherwise, they couldn't find information on that. So we hope that the examples that we have heard about today will be used as practical cases for our students, for them to better understand how companies could be implementing such practices. You can see again in the slide what the structure is.
Тобто це ті теми, які ми визначили як ключові
These
напрями.
are the topics that have been outlined as the core ones, like topic 2, strategies and policies of the EU in the field of circular economy, with 2 lectures, a rather wide topic. We consider a lot of things there, in particular the circular city concept. And by the way, today there has been a mention of Slavuta community, and we're also considering their case because that is information from open sources. So the problem is that we need to have open information in open access. That is what Edward mentioned at the beginning. I just don't want to repeat, just want to say that this is a real problem for us. We don't have a clear understanding of the essence of circular economy in our society. Our students in higher education institutions are not aware of circular economy. They just know some practices, some cases. We don't have a sufficient number of circular practices of home companies. We don't have a sufficient level of implementation of circular practices by domestic companies. And we have a further of challenges we are facing. So I'm really grateful to the organizers for the invitation, and I hope that together we will be able to get the necessary knowledge and information and experience. And the information that we've got today will be provided in open access. We will be able to disseminate it for people to get acquainted with it, in particular students, managers, future managers will get acquainted with this information because they are the people to implement the results of the knowledge acquired. Thank you. Thank you, Katarina. Let us tell right away that we are working with many companies, and we do have business cases that are available on our website, and we are still preparing some more. So please, these are the real practical outcomes of some projects and possible activities aimed at improvement of resource efficiency, environmental safety of companies. So please use future generation. Thank you, Katarina. Mr. Lars, according to your knowledge of a different approach, which is green chemistry, how important it is this national knowledge and global networks knowledge exchange? The floor is yours.
Hey everybody, I'm very sorry I had to take this call from a public space, so there might be a little bit of background noise, but I hope it's bearable. I'll just share my slides really quick. So I want to talk about circular economy, but from a little bit of a different perspective, from green chemistry, and especially from the perspective of the global innovation and network program that we are developing together with Andrei and his team at the RECP in Ukraine. And actually, green chemistry is a very, very good supplement of circular economy, or really they go very well hand in hand. What we're trying to do in this program that we're developing at PEAK, the multi-year program that really looks at the potential of green chemistry and how we can use green chemistry as an integral tool for a sustainable future. And one of the major ideas, or one of the big ideas of this program, is actually the creation of a network about green chemistry, which is actually a repository of technologies, and it's also designed to amplify green chemistry capacities all over the world to support innovation and from academia use chemistry complementing circular economy and also how to utilize green chemistry to substitute persistent organic pollutants, because there's not only circular economy, but also how can we get rid of toxic pollutants in our environment. So I really think that circular economy and green chemistry, they go hand in hand, and we see of the basic concepts in circular economy are very well complemented by many of the 12 principles of green chemistry. For example, how can we prevent pollution, or how can we design safer chemicals, how can we use renewable feedstocks, or how can we design a product to be completely degradable, because we are not in circular economy, we are not talking only about recycling or repairing of a product that we are using, but also of designing a product in a way that it's maybe biodegradable. It's really very, very important, and it shows how circular economy and green chemistry can go hand in hand. And what we're doing in this moment, also with the help of the team of the National Cleaner Production Center here, is developing a web platform called Chemistry for Sustainability. It will be online in the beginning of next year, or probably early summer next year, Northern Hemisphere summer. And it's going to be a knowledge repository, and it's also going to be a teaching material repository. So there will be a lot of information about green chemistry specifically, but many of those tools and information and teaching materials will really be a supplement to what we call circular economy tools, because those two concepts go so well hand in hand. And I think it's going to be really very interesting and very complementary and very complete positive knowledge. Also going to culminate in an accelerator program that actually will be brought to many different countries around the world. Because the program, the Global Innovation Network, is that it's a program implemented in 6 different countries, being one of them, but there's also Serbia, Peru, Jordan, and Indonesia. And I think we can really see the value of international cooperation in this kind of project, because all the different countries bring different resources, different perspectives, different native knowledge, and also different needs. I think the international cooperation in a project like this will really bring the most of it. We can always learn from each other, and I think this project and also this platform will really celebrate that, and really celebrate the complementarity of green chemistry and circular economy. And well, I also want to thank you very much. Sorry, the noise in the background was too loud for the interpreters. I hope not. And thank you very much. And I will be able to any questions at the end of this panel. Thank you.
Дякуємо вам, пане Ларисе.
Thank you, Lars. Hans McNulty. I think that you can also answer to me in several sentences. So taking into account your experience for many years in knowledge management at the global level, how could it be done in the best way possible? What are the trends in this direction that you could share with us? Over to you.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here joining you today. Bear with me while I quickly share my screen, because I think this will be a little bit easier if I show 1 or 2 slides just to explain what I'm saying. First of all, what I need to do is explain who I'm with. I'm with Green Partnership, and the key things we are is to help transform circular economy knowledge into action. So go beyond words and convert those words into real action on the ground. Now, what I should say about the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership, or DGKP in short, is that we're there to really empower others to increase their impact. And what I mean by others is those that create knowledge. Knowledge, whether it's guidance, whether it's training, whether it's financing, it doesn't matter. Whatever knowledge can help people implement actions around the circular economy. And specifically what this means is we're transforming knowledge into action, but we're connecting knowledge users and knowledge users. This is really a very important aspect of our work, because knowledge producers don't understand the needs of knowledge users, the right knowledge cannot be produced and put into use. And so what we're very much a global initiative that are trying, and I think successfully trying, to simplify access to evidence-based knowledge. So we gather all of the evidence-based circular economy knowledge out there, bring it together and facilitate exchange. Again, it's not just about knowledge management or creating access to knowledge, but also about ensuring knowledge producers can engage with knowledge users. And we have a number of knowledge platforms that look at it from different angles. We have, very importantly, a knowledge community. It's a bit like LinkedIn, but dedicated to circular economy and green, well, the green and circular economy. It's called the Green Forum. And we have knowledge tools like IGO, which are designed for SMEs to be able to access the knowledge they need to be able to change or implement action within their own specific operations. So with that background, let me explain all different organizations we work with, because we are the steering committee of the 5 organizations you see on the screen, but we also have a vast array of knowledge partners. These are knowledge partners that we work with to promote their work around the circular economy and related topics. Now, it's a large number of partners, and realistically, we don't just work with this 90. We work with actually far more. The knowledge we have is covering many, many more different organizations. The problem is that creates nearly too much knowledge without actually organizing it correctly around circular economy and how we take all of this knowledge and implement it in action. Which brings me to this last, we could say, slide to explain the future for us in terms of knowledge management on the circular economy. And it's about making sense of too much, because yes, in a way, from the experience of GGK, we work with so many organizations, we end up actually having nearly too much knowledge, but at the same time, too many gaps in that knowledge. This means many organizations know what's already out, what they need, and so knowledge can be produced that is maybe a duplicate or what it may be. So what we are now going forward to do a number of things to make better sense of all the existing, to kind of better, to make everybody is aware of what's out there, and to better with end users. We're going down the route. That means we're going to use artificial intelligence to help us organize knowledge going forward, but also to share it more systematically with specific types of end users. Now, what does that mean? The first thing is we are working to agree a common circular economy definition and taxonomy amongst many different knowledge hubs and stakeholder platforms. This comes back to what Andre was saying about the lack of a common language around circular economy. It's true, and I've seen it in the chat. What is the circular economy? People are getting confused about it, and what falls under the circular economy? How does it apply in different sectors? Well, all of this is very important to managing the knowledge around it, because if we can't define it, if we can't classify it, how can we organize the knowledge and get people to the knowledge that they most need? So we'll be working to agree this circular economy definition and taxonomy amongst a large number of knowledge hubs and stakeholder platforms. So it's, again, looking at the knowledge and engagement side to get that common framework in place. After which we can then put in place this AI-assisted system, which is about automatically bringing together knowledge and classifying it according to this agreed framework or taxonomy, as well as user needs. Now, what does that mean? Imagine 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 different knowledge hubs around the world, all interlinked with a digital connection and what's called API link, where knowledge can be automatically transferred between knowledge hubs as it is added to each individual knowledge hub. So if a knowledge product is added to knowledge hub X, it is automatically transferred to another knowledge hub. Now, at the center of this, you have GGKP with its central library, which takes all the knowledge. And of course, all the other knowledge hubs can then automatically take it from GGKP according to their specific needs. Now, this is all done with AI-assisted technology and will be put into place during the course of 2024. Now, that means that knowledge is much more easily available and easily searchable by knowledge producers, but also knowledge users. Because if we have this common classification, I use the word classification now, but ultimately the definition of the taxonomy, that allows us to create user-adapted search interfaces. So we might have tens of thousands of knowledge products, of knowledge resources, but because it's well classified, because we understand user needs, we can create an interface for a policymaker, for a bank, for an SME, for an NGO, for a government, to all go in and find the knowledge most relevant to their specific needs. Again, through an AI-assisted user-adapted search interface. So this is us going forward, how to create this common language around circular economy and to make it much more easily available to both knowledge producers and users, and making sure that the needs of the users are matched to what knowledge producers are producing. So I'll end there, leaving you just with a last slide, which has our links. And I mentioned here in the middle, the Green Forum, which is a community space where everybody can engage with each other on the topic of circular economy. Thank you very much.
Дякуємо вам, пане Ханас.
Thank you, Hannes. Thanks a lot to all our online speakers who have joined us. Thanks a lot to Katarina, to Andrei for participating in this event. And please, I would ask Katarina and Andrei to take a seat in the room. And also, I'm so grateful that our participant speakers are using chat for questions and for answers. So please, whenever you have the question to the panelists from Panel Discussion 3, join us in chat, ask questions, and the speakers will probably provide the answers to them. Let me also remind you that, of course, this year's National Conference, Circular Economy for Green Recovery of Ukraine, is dedicated to the 10th anniversary of the Resource Efficiency and Cleaner Production Center. So let me give the floor to our director, Andrei. Thank you, Katarina.
Не дуже багато часу, бо у нас уже марафон з...
I will try not to take too much of your time because Circular Economy Marathon has lasted for 4 years, or to be brief, 10 years is the date, the anniversary that cannot be skipped. So just in brief about organization, about the center. So it was established in 2016, as you understand it from simple mathematics. And this was a project of development. This was a real project launched at the beginning of the first to create the center, to institutionalize it, or pronounce the knowledge efficiency in Ukraine. So another project was suggested, which was promotion, adaptation, and implementation of resource efficient production by establishment of a center. Was supposed to last for 5 years, and then it lasted for 8 years. It was launched in 2012, and in 2013, the center was established as a legal and donors were in Austria, and the implementing partner explains our very close relation with UNIDO. And I have to tell that the manager of it was Petra Schwager, and at the same time we had some main chief technical consultants, Kampa, who in Ukraine for about 3 years, Branko Dunic, Heislenberger. So all of them had a major impact on the evolution of our organization. At the same time, the founders of the center were Ukrainian organizations, and it was important to show that this is the organization functioning in Ukraine, and the whole responsibility is at the level. So the founders of the center were reliable partners, which is Kyiv Polytechnic Institute, Scientific Park, Kyiv Polytechnic University, Ukrainian League of Entrepreneurs and Industry Workers. So today, the center consists of almost 20 people with different experience. And of course, our main qualification is technical qualification, because we work with enterprises, make assessment, deal with material and energy balances and all those great things that you don't think that are so nice. But at the same time, we have people dealing with project management and with other things like consultations for enterprises and for communities on sustainable development matters. And we used to have 4 offices, but now we have 1 office and representative offices in different regions because of the COVID and of the war that have introduced changes. And our task from the very beginning was to work on resource efficient and cleaner production. And the task has been fully performed, and all the well, I cannot tell that all the companies have been engaged in that, but we've had a great progress, and you can see the results of just one project we were dealing with. The savings are really great. And in fact, this is the best illustration of the fact that resource efficiency is something that we need to deal with. And this is the best illustration of our work, the practical outcomes of the activities that not have been suggested by us, but that have been already implemented. And really, it's about 20 or 30% of the capacity that we found in companies during our work. If we speak about the development and evolution of the center, it all started as the one project. Implementation, I mean, there was a project on the establishment of the center had some tasks and performed those tasks. But at the same time, the problem of such project normally lies in the fact that after the project, there is an end put to the organization, and UNIDO has experience of creating such centers in different countries of the world. And we were lucky to stay after the end of the project and to become a fully sustained, self-sustained organization. In our case, well, somewhere from 2015 or 16, it became clear that we need to diversify our activity. That's why we worked with different organizations, not just with UNIDO, but with the UN for Environment and GIZ and other organizations. But we always worked with companies. We dealt with eco-modernization, resource efficiency, energy efficiency, consultations for enterprises. And later I will tell you about our doctrine, but one of the items there was entering international markets. That was something that came after 21, and that's what we did. We went to Moldova, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan within one of the projects, but of course now in wartime, this is no longer realistic because we have a gender equality, and half of our staff members cannot go abroad to work in those countries. And there are some other logistic issues that prevent us from expanding to other markets, which means that we need to be looking for some markets here. And with the beginning of the full-scale invasion in Ukraine, the focus shifted from resource efficiency to recovery and restoration. And normally recovery and efficiency are a little bit different things. We are trying to combine them to the best extent we can, but normally these are the things that are not highly interrelated. And we used to work with companies, and we noticed that after the beginning of the full-scale invasion, many players left this sector of working with enterprises. They focused on humanitarian aid provided to communities, which is not exactly what our qualification is, because we normally work with companies and enterprises. But still, there are some projects where we engaged and we work with enterprises in different capacities. Suppose in the EU4Environment program, we are the implementing partners of UNIDO, executive partners, but in green chemistry, we are also the national implementing partner. But on other programs, like in eco-industrial parks, we're just doing a part of works for this project, but our focus is still on this. To sum up, we have 4 fields of our activity. The strongest is consultancy for industrial companies. We have made different calculations, but it appears that we have consulted more than 300 industrial companies. The other component we used to work a lot on, and we still work on, is policy development, let's say for eco-industrial parks. And this is really something that is important because policy stimulates changes, and even if it's beneficial for companies, if you don't urge companies to do it, and they will think twice whether to start. But if there is a positive stimulating mechanism, it's much easier to stimulate them to do this. The third component is national capacity building. 500 experts have been trained within the course that I mentioned in the previous panel, and we are preparing a course in circular economy. And we've also raised the awareness of businesses, so we have exceeded the figure 10,000 representatives who have attended over 150 information events, and we have a lot of sectoral recommendations that have been developed in terms of capacity building, and the visibility of our project, of our center, is very good. Here you can see some data about consultancy for companies. Normally we have about 40 companies per year. We would like to scale it up, but we need better stimulation from the state and higher interest from companies. I will not focus on all these slides. Let me tell what comes next. According to the theory of organizational development, in fact, the life of every organization is cyclic. And if we have a look at this diagram, well, it's difficult to say where we are. Some say that we are done with the first cycle. Maybe yes, maybe no, but at least we have covered this teenager, adolescent age. We have become the organization that already has got its niche and its field of activity. The only problem is that now this field is not in the focus of attention because of the war, but anyway, we need to still work on resource efficiency. And in this slide, you can see the circular economy scheme to show how it works. We have been talking a lot about circular economy, but here is the scheme, how it works. And in this scheme, in this diagram, you can see that there are three strategies. One of them is called narrowing, and it's mentioned that at every stage of the life cycle, you have to make the material flow thinner. And if we speak about resource efficiency of production, this is reduction at the production stage. This is our starting point for our center and for UNIDO, with which we have been working in this direction. And it would also be logical to keep working on resource efficiency and to expand the range of our activity in circular economy by also partially embracing repeat remanufacturing, which I mentioned last time. If we translate, by the way, there is also a problem with terminology, because if we take Google and remanufacture, it would have a different meaning. But we are trying to introduce the repeat manufacture term in Ukrainian. So we want to offer some approaches and to do piloting of those approaches in Ukraine. Because, in fact, it's true that we have been introducing resource-efficient production, but the main power is the flexibility of the team that can pilot different approaches. And today, in the presentations, you heard about the PF, about clean production, about mapping of waste in communities. So these are the things that are rather new for Ukraine. We didn't have before, and this is something that the center is dealing with, and we need to really pilot such projects, not only in terms of resource efficiency, but in other domains as well. And to wrap up, let me tell a couple of words about the strategic vision of the center for 2021-2030. This is the vision developed after we implemented a large-scale project, and the lion's share of our budget just was spent on that. We needed to understand how we would be supposed to work further. So we were rather prepared for that. So first we decided that we shouldn't just have assessment, but we should work with the industry on a higher level to work with something more than just assessment. And we would like to be a national partner for the organizations from national and international stakeholders as far as improvement is concerned and greening and or eco-modernization of Ukrainian industry is concerned. So let me invite each and every one of you for cooperation. We still have some free spaces this year, so if you have some ideas, we are ready to listen to you. So that's actually it. And the last thing I need to tell is that here you can find us, and I would like to conclude with saying that I'm really grateful to all our partners because every year we have had consultative sessions of councils and 40 or 50 organizations came to tell how we could improve. We are grateful to all of you, and definitely we're grateful to donors, to organizations, to projects, but also to all the people who were side by side with us and to the team of the center. I'm really grateful as the director to my team for spending these 10 years together with you and taking this path together. Thank you, Andrei. Thank you for such warm words, for the memories of those 10 years. Let me now give the floor to Johannes Fresner, Chief Technical Advisor from UNIDO. Over to you.
Пане Йоханнес.
Thank you very much. Tatiana, your message is on my screen. Thank you very much, and congratulations to the 10th anniversary of this center. I'm Johannes Fresner. I'm Senior Technical Advisor to UNIDO. And why am I speaking here at the end of the day? I've been involved together with the center on their journey at different stages over a very long time. Andrei will remember the whole program started already 15 years back, supported by the Swiss, by Austrians and so on, started doing RECP assessments. And what came out of that? Lots of RECP assessments. The center literally in the meantime has worked with hundreds of companies, sharing the expertise of the university with enterprises and really helping them for a greener Ukrainian economy. And it's not the fault of the center that the last years have been so unfortunate. On this slide, I have a few cornerstones, a few milestones of this development. Amongst them, of course, the two big European programs here, Big Green and EU4Environment, which would not have been as successful without the center in the Ukraine. Without going into too many details, and Andrei has already mentioned how the center has developed and how it has broadened its services on the one hand side, and on the other side, the outreach, the cooperation with the donors. I just want to put some future vision on the screen. Apart from having worked with several hundred companies, there is more to do out there in the Ukraine. There is 2 million enterprises, 99% of them micro enterprises, so to speak. So there is a lot of challenge upcoming, but the tools are there, the knowledge is there, the people are there in the center. I'm just picking briefly the results of monitoring during EU4Environment, showing the results of a sample of 36 companies, and just 2-3 observations from my side. It all started with good housekeeping, but in the meantime, the center is able to reach out deep into recommending technology, specifically addressed to the participating industries. And of course, a third of the measures proposed involve small budgets, investments of less than 5,000 euros. But another third is really serious, is investments of more than 100,000 euros a piece, which means something, even on Austrian terms. And the most important thing out of the information, Andrei has mentioned in a side sentence, is more than a third of these suggestions by the center were implemented. So the center is strong and fit to talk to industries, to suggest to industries meaningful measures, and to support industries in the implementations. Business cases are documented. I think Andre is distributing the documents during the conference and online. Lots of reading for us, lots to study. Proof of successful interaction with industries. This is not the only thing. The center is interacting with universities. We have heard about the impact they have had on curricula, on syllabi, and the center is talking to government institutions, so the impact definitely is there. There is a lot of knowledge provided. I just picked a few screenshots of manuals, of the e-learning courses which are available, and of the competence of the team. Ned mentioned that some companies are actually implementing or have been implementing for a while circular economy strategies without calling them so. And I think the same we can observe with the companies the center is talking to, because we do have examples of recycling of plastics material, recycling of clay in the formation of bricks, recycling of binder in the construction industry, joint procurement, joint waste management, preparing a more circular economy. So this is part of our work to assess the readiness of the centers for the future, to continue their role, talking to industries, talking to governments. And of course, we have some question marks in the Ukraine. We have heard the assessment in the video of the impact of the war of relocation on industries, which is not really providing a supporting environment to greening the industries. But apart from that, the competency is there, the capacity is there, the approaches have been adapted to the national situation. The way forward, of course, will be continuous interaction, continuous support of industries, solving the secondary, tertiary problems in implementing the suggestions, greening their processes, greening their products, and interacting cooperatively to implement more circular economy practices. For this, we definitely need to recall that many enterprises are small or very small, so language will have to be tailored to them. Access to finance always was important and will become more important in the near future. There will be more training, more interaction, more excursions to provide the experts with solid hands-on experience with these circular technologies. And Ned is there, Joe is there, Ricardo, Ocean are listening. These are the next steps. The center is actively working on a forecast, on a future vision of a circular Ukraine, and you're all invited to contribute. So to conclude, happy birthday from Austria and a happy 10th anniversary to you all. Thank you for listening.
Дякуємо вам, пане Йоханнесе,
Thank you, Johannes, for such a nice postcard. And thanks a lot to all of you for your words of support and your informative, inspiring 10 years of going on this journey together with us. Let me invite for the wrapping up of the conference, Tatiana Chernявska, EU4Environment Project Manager, Circular Economy and Resource Efficiency Unit, UNIDO, for the welcoming speech. Let me welcome Tatiana. Tatiana?
Thank you very much, Katerina. And thank you to everyone who is staying with us so late. We didn't manage to be efficient with time, but this means that the number of participants in the room and online shows the interest to the subject. Very shortly, of course, I would like to start with words of warm congratulations to the colleagues in the room and in the country for their hard work on making resource efficiency a reality in the country. And I think that is what we had discussed today in different aspects. Even if, yes, we were speaking about circular economy, still the first step and the step which was made in the last 15 years, as Johannes revealed, those steps were made to make understand what kind of resources are there in the enterprises and how to make them continuously not only counted for, but also to make them coming back into the production and useful life in terms of products and materials. So we started with welcoming remarks, and I'm glad that our colleagues from the European Union made a very clear point that the Green Deal and green recovery of Ukraine, as was announced also at the Vilnius conference, is indeed the common goal, and it's fully supported by the European community, by the European member states. And that's very important in the times like that, that we can take the flag and support that initiative through already existing networks and existing initiatives like resource efficiency. And we are discussing circular economy also in the context of UNIDO program. There, Mr. Sikkers made a reference to concrete plans, which UNIDO also has and can offer in terms of its own mandate, and taken into consideration all the changes which happened and go on happening in the country. We also have a very important session on policy and available materials and the documents which are in making. So the projects are in making in the country, and the Deputy Minister of Economy was very concrete in her intervention, confirming that pilot exercises and cross sectoral activities are in the priority pipeline for the ministry. In this regard, of course, we at UNIDO stand very firmly to support the industrial recovery and overall green recovery of the country together with the government. We were looking at partners, at other stakeholders which identified possible interventions and ongoing work. So we are glad that we can join forces. And I saw in the chat there were a lot of exchanges on how we can create such networks which would then continue promoting circular economy in the country. Of course, the issue of practices and business cases which were brought in another session today is another way of contributing to that dialogue. We can create the case, we can have a policy, but if we don't have a case and we don't have practical application, this policy might not be realized as if when it is actually promoted and supported by already existing cases. So this is what is done through the resource efficiency work and through circularity promotion projects. Skills and knowledge is essential. And I'm happy that we are having so many guests and interventions which support creation of those skills, creation of this knowledge, and building awareness further in the country in Ukrainian language, so that more and more people would start saying what I've heard today at the conference, that they are now clearer about what circular economy is, and they can join, the enterprises can join in making this circular economy exactly the business case for themselves and success story. And of course, I'm glad that we can be part of that planning for the future as UNIDO with the Foresight program, to which I really cordially invite everyone to take part. We are planning to launch a survey of knowledge in the next couple of weeks. That will be as a second survey of UNIDO as a part of Foresight exercise to collect your opinions and your visions, and maybe your questions as well, on where to go with circular economy introduction, which supply chains should be prioritized, what kind of infrastructure is missing, and what kind of support you would require to make circularity reality in Ukraine. And of course, the results of this exercise of the survey and the ongoing work under the Foresight would come to be this discussion at the panel we plan to have at the end of January. All those activities are going to be reflected in different social media, and the main source of information in this regard, the RECP Center webpage, which we are using as a starting point, as a platform to create this network, to create this knowledge on circular economy for industry and further green recovery in the country. I would like to appreciate this, all the efforts of our partners, the Resource Efficiency Center. I would like to join the warm words of acknowledgement and congratulations, which were shared by many here, and I'm sure you would have a nice time offline to celebrate. But for me, it's very important to say on behalf of UNIDO, big thank you to the team for making this conference a success, and I hope that we will have the people who are joining us today throughout the meeting joining us further in different projects and activities on circular economy in Ukraine. I'm wishing you a very nice evening and all the best for the coming holiday season. Thank you very much.
Дуже дякуємо вам, пані Тетяна.
Thanks a lot, Tatiana, for such warm words. And with this optimistic, warm note, I suggest that we conclude our national conference. And let me express my gratitude to all the participants, to all the hybrid format speakers. Thanks a lot. Because over those 10 years, you have been staying with us shoulder to shoulder towards the implementation of circular economy for green recovery of Ukraine. And as always, we will ask you to use the link and to evaluate the quality of our conference. And we will send this QR code and link to your email together with all the materials. Please leave your feedback for us because we want to improve. See you in the new year. And finally, if you haven't yet watched the video on the green recovery of the industry of Ukraine, let us show this video. Thank you for staying with us, and let me invite all the participants from the room to continue with formal networking during the reception. Thank you. Green recovery of the industry of Ukraine, supported by the EU4Environment program. The war of aggression of Russia against Ukraine made millions of people flee, and besides numerous human victims, it caused infrastructural destructions that has a negative effect on the economy. The war also led to significant, often irreversible damages to the environment. But the national economy survived thanks to the hard work of Ukrainians and international partners, and we have good prospects for recovery. An integral element of the country's economic recovery is the business sector, which is making an effort to fully operate and is looking for ways to restore production facilities and create safe working conditions. Over the first year of Russia's war of aggression, more than 800 businesses were relocated inside Ukraine to safer areas, of which nearly 650 have already resumed their operations in their new location. Under the EU4Environment program funded by the EU, the Center for Resource Efficiency and Cleaner Production has conducted a survey and identified the challenges and needs of the relocated enterprises in Ukraine. But once relocated enterprises face obstacles, the most important which are broken supply chains, problems with managing sales, lack of qualified workers, and high electricity costs. A share of companies also exposed to losing suppliers and employees, on top of having to deal with an incomplete infrastructure in their new location. Ensuring access to energy supplies is a critical factor for a relocation decision. Another important factor is availability of industrial land and housing for the displaced workers and their safety and mobility. As the relocated enterprises gradually manage to increase their capacity, the need for resources-based transportation and energy continues to grow. With the support of from the European UNIDO program, enterprises will find ways to reduce energy and resource consumption. They can take the path of green recovery and contribute to reducing the burden on the environment. During the war, the program and its partners in Ukraine continue to help companies. Held trainings and provided company-specific advice on measures for energy efficiency, environmental safety, resource conservation, and cost savings. 14 companies from various industries participating in peer-to-peer learning managed to reduce energy consumption and cut down on harmful emissions. 12 demo companies that received tailored advice saved money and energy resources while reducing environmental pollution. As highlighted by the recent Green Recovery Conference, the private sector, public authorities, and society overall are ready to continue to rebuild and restore Ukraine. That's what was mentioned. In this process, all actors are ready to follow the principles of the circular economy and the European Green Deal. The European Union stands ready to continue supporting the green recovery of Ukraine, moving together towards green recovery. The video has been developed with the financial support of the European Union.